You're entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. This is it. This is the end of the British Open content. Actually, that's not true. I hurt my knee and I hurt my back. So like a coward, I can't run anymore, so I have to go on the stupid elliptical, which is like the worst thing in the world, and I have to do like twice the workout because it doesn't work out as much. So right after this, like an hour after, keep me occupied while I'm on that. I'll do a live chat from Twitter on there too. But this is where you get a chance to get your questions answered. Betting, DraftKings, doesn't matter. You leave it in the chat on the YouTube page, and give the episode a like. That's why we can do these things for free. Reid Fowler is joining me before we get to the weather, before we get to the questions. Reid, you're doing this, what, live from Times Square? All I can hear is people.
Yeah, exactly. We're in the newsroom here at DraftKings, so there's a bunch of people working obviously pretty hard. But for me, I'm just worried about the weather. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to do this.
I have stopped being so concerned about the weather as it's changed from AM, PM, PM, AM, back to AM, PM like 5 times. Just screw it. Just stack on both sides. You're going to be on your way. We'll get to that in a second, though. I left the link inside of the chat. I do have the winners of the giveaways from Monday's show, from Tuesday's show, from the iTunes and Stitcher reviews, and the Instagram photo. I actually gave out 3 from that because so many people signed up, it seemed unfair just to give out 1. So the winners of 20 DK dollars. I don't know if it's in the account yet or not. Reid, you look into that after we finish recording here, so hopefully it'll be there in time for you to enter the DraftKings British Open Millionaire Maker. But if not, just use it for the PGA Championship one or use it in baseball or something like that. But 20 DK bucks is going to Lofty 35, DM Rose, Dame 2, G Dull, Ben Wiles, KRS 0123, I bet you I can guess your password, Bro Jackson, Star Fox 01, and Space Divest. You are all the winners of 20 DK bucks. Let's talk weather, Reid. What are you seeing right now? Because like I mentioned, I posted the link to Karnowski in the wind finder. I looked at the super forecast. I just tweeted it out, and it does appear like the AM PM has a slight advantage, but again, that can flip at a moment's notice. We might not even be able to see it coming. However, the way that I think about it is I made 25 lineups. I stacked 5 AM PM. I stacked 5 PM AM, and that's all I'm doing. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. I think we looked at it earlier in the week, and it wasn't looking like, it was looking benign. Like there wasn't going to be really any advantage either way, but now it's looking like AM, PM, and there are some guys, high price studs that are in that PM, AM stack. There are some guys that you could leverage with ownership and weather, but I'm leaning more towards AM, PM. But like you're right, do the 5 or do whatever you feel comfortable with stacking on both sides, because this could change at a moment's notice. You don't want to be in the wrong side of that stack. So do both and then you see how it goes.
All right, so let's get to the questions. This is what everyone is here for. If you want all of the links to everything, they're in the description of the video. Updated cheat sheet, updating DK cheat sheet, betting cheat sheet, all the other shows. Go check that out if you're listening on demand. Please leave that iTunes review because I'm always going to be running an iTunes contest, just like giving the episode a like goes a long way. First question, Ryan Downs. Cash games. Justin Rose, Brooks Koepka, Emiliano Grillo, or Fowler Koepka / ZJ Finau. I don't even know. I'm not playing any cash games this week. I'm just concentrating on giant GPP, so I'm trying to think of safety. I guess, the ZJ Finau, I feel like is safer than Grillo. I like Grillo. I'm not using him in the Millionaire Maker because I think he's going to be too highly owned. I just placed a 200-to-1 bet on him just to have some ease in case he ends up going off. But I think I like that second end. Fowler, Koepka, ZJ, I think is a better cash game lineup. What do you think?
Yeah, same here. I think Koepka is someone that, the ownership has gone back and forth. I think he's even a great tournament play in my mind. But if you look at Ricky, I think he's getting a lot of exposure for this tournament. Sets up decently for Carnoustie, so I do like that stack. But even then, right, with the cash game, I'm the same as you. I don't really play cash games too much. But Fowler in that stack would be mine. Finau, obviously, is one of my core guys, one of the guys that I think is going to be heavily owned. So can you trust the Finau down at 7,200? I think with his majors performances, he's done pretty well, but I would say that Fowler stack is where I go with cash.
All right, so Matthew Jones asked, the best strategy in the 20 max $4, is it to stick with your core players or mix and match? I don't necessarily know what you mean by that. You're going to have your core players. I wouldn't go 100% any one player, but I would stick to like my 6, 7 guys that I really like in those 20 lineups, try to play them around 50 to 60%, and then mix and match with your bottom end guys. Like the way that I've been looking at it, and I've posted these names in my DK cheat sheet, like Berger from the bottom. No one's owning him. You can throw him in. Like instead of, like I passed on ZJ and Finau just because I couldn't decide between them. I was like, you know what? I'll just diversify down there. So I end up with like shares of Matthew Southgate and Ryan Fox and Danny Willett. I have a lot of Charlie Hoffman, actually. Berger's another one. Luke List is another one. Just Hao Tong Lee. Guys in that range that you don't need a whole lot of. That's where I would mix and match. Not at the top end, though. Like at the top end, go with your guys. Stick with them. You can mix and match between them, like instead of going like, let's say you want to play Dustin and Rory. It's hard to make Dustin Rory lineups. So, Dustin, Reid, Norin, Rory, Rahm, Casey, that kind of thing. Tiger, throw into that mix if those are the guys you want. That's just an example. But that's how I would play the 20 max.
Yeah, I think for me too. I mean, there's core guys at the top that I really like. There's core guys that I'm fading as well, like Spieth. Rory is another guy, right? I want to play a lot of DJ. So my core guys at the top are going to be DJ, Rose, and then JT a little bit, but I'm full fading Spieth, full fading Rory because I want to make those DJ lineups. Right there, diversified a little bit more too is in the 8,000s. I think in the 8,000s and as well as the mid-7s, you're finding a lot. I do like the Berger, Hoffman. Even a guy like Patrick Cantlay is someone that I'm looking at being overweight on because of the ability that you can diversify in that low 7K range. So for me, you also got to play your core guys. If you've listened to your shows and the guys that come on that have done really well, like Gup and some of these other guys, they really shrink and they shrink their core, especially in these bigger tournaments because of that. So I wouldn't go away from that just because of the ownership. Play those guys.
That's the whole thing, and that's, I think, where people fall into a trap, and I myself am someone who falls into that trap, and I've been really trying to curb it the last few weeks. But you got to play these giant tournaments like you're Ricky Bobby. You're first or you're last. You need to play to win. If your guys hit, you win all the money. If they don't hit, you lose all the money. You need to be willing to do that if you want to have a realistic chance of actually winning one of these tournaments. But if you're not willing just to set your lineups on fire and make some bold stances, you can't take everyone. You're just raking yourself, so you don't want to do that. Next one. Todd asks, is Matt Kuchar going to be the forgotten value play this time around at $7,700? I feel like it's impossible for Matt Kuchar to be overlooked in any millionaire maker. Just once the public gets their hands on it, Matt Kuchar's just in people's lineups. Yeah, especially at that range. Where we like to see Kuchar, right, is in this spot, right, that low 7 to mid 7, right, he's 7,700. But I think you do have some guys in that range that people are going to play more. I still don't. I think he reaches double digits easy in ownership. I don't think he's going to be some guy that just goes under the radar because Kuchar is a guy. Even last year, we saw him win. If it wasn't for Spieth's miraculous recovery, this guy would have potentially been a major champion. Yes, Spieth made some pretty good putts coming down the stretch, but Kuchar is always a guy that has to be in play major championships, especially at the Open. So I don't think he's going to be a forgotten one. We might get depressed ownership from previous majors and previous Open championships, but he's not going to be forgotten. No, I don't think so either, especially when Logan Harper pointed this out on the Millionaire Maker Show ownership yesterday, that Kuchar, Casey, potentially, probably not Stenson at this point. We'll get to Stenson in a second. But where so many people play like a one entry into the Millionaire Maker and then to win their money back, they play like a $20 double up. Kuchar's one of those safe guys that just gets translated over from cash games into the Millionaire Maker. And I think that's where a lot of his ownership comes from a lot of the time. So that's Matt Kuchar. Dustin asks, is playing the AM players the way to go? I mean, if you're looking, the AM Thursday players, that is. As of right now, it seems like there is a bit of an edge as the wind does pick up Friday morning, and those guys would theoretically avoid that, but it's really hard to tell. Like I said, I'm just stacking on both sides. 5 lineups, 15 lineups a mix, and that's how I'm going about it. So I wouldn't... Listen, if you're playing like 2 lineups, it's hard to do any sort of weather stack, because if it's wrong, like you're just absolutely annihilated. So don't overemphasize the weather, especially here, because it's going to be important, but if anyone tells you how important it's going to be and exactly when it's going to hit, they're lying to you. So that's the way I would approach it. Ronnie asks, thoughts on Snedeker and Willett? I personally am using both. What do you think? I'm not using Willett. I think Snedeker is someone that I actually enjoy, especially down in that range. We talk about diversifying in that low 7K range. Snedeker is one of those guys that's kind of going under the radar, so to speak, because of his current form. He's actually playing a lot better, but he doesn't necessarily pop in these stat models. If that wind picks up, if the weather becomes inclement, who do you want? You want a guy like Snedeker who can keep it in the fairway, you can putt really well, and he's been here before. So give me Snedeker. I'm not playing Willett. I can see where that current form is coming,
more into play, and that's your boy. And so you can't go away from Willett the same way you probably can't go away from Satoshi Kodaira. But for me, I'm actually fading Willett. I'm going to be playing Snedeker about, I'd say 50% of my lineups.
You say 50 or 15?
15.
15? I was going to say, that's a very bold stance on Snedeker. What do I have? I have 12% Brant Snedeker in my 25 lineups. He was a part, when I did like the tee time stacking, he was a name that entered that mix. So I think of those 5 tee draw lineups, he's in either 1 or 2 of them. I think it might be 2 with Brant Snedeker. If you're out there and you're on the Twitters, please retweet the tweet for this. I want to get as many people in this chat as possible. Make it seem like, hey, we can go 3 hours with this stuff. And don't forget, Cut Sweats live with myself and 1G Feinberg. Maybe we'll have some guests on too. If you're watching the British Open at home, you got nothing to do, Jeff and I will be watching it here. We'll have a live stream going. We'll be like 20 seconds behind because of YouTube delay. So you can see stuff happen and then see Jeff and I freak out about it. Or be really pumped, like when Jordan Spieth missed the cut at the U.S. Open, and we had Cust on the
That was
line.
great.
That was fun. Probably around 2 p.m. Eastern time, I'm thinking. We'll get a better gauge of that on Thursday once we see how the rounds shake out. Matthew Fox is asking the big question, thoughts on Stenson. Are you playing him? Elbow injury seems to be more than just an excuse to WD from the Scottish Open. I'm taking a pass on Henrik Stenson, fading him completely. And I know a lot of people are on board with me. I'm also fading Bryson, who is actually looking better at this point, but in terms of Stenson, I didn't want to play him anyway as an ownership fade, and I don't think that the ownership is going to quite get there this time around because of the injury, but if Stenson beats me, I'm off of him. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at the reports, the recent reports, there's nothing really that says that he's not going to play, and it's pretty ambiguous that they're saying he's ready or he's saying he's ready to play. Now you can tee it off in number 1 and be ready, but then with WD after the second shot. So I'm playing Stenson. I'm going to take that. I want to take that approach where if he's injured, I want to play that quote unquote contrarian play. Like Stenson sets up perfectly here, and if it's not Bryson's injury scares me. Oosthuizen's injury scares me a little bit. So I'm going to be fading those guys in terms of injury. And again, it's ambiguous because we don't know necessarily what's happening with Stenson. I don't want to lose that because I think he's coming into form. I think he has great Open experience, and he's won here before, right? He's won in 2016. So give me Stenson. I got about 15-20% of Stenson.
So I'm not using any of the injured guys. No Stenson, no Bryson, and no Louis for me because I'm a coward, and people know that. But if I had to use one, I would feel the best about Bryson, only because I think that his upside – I mean, yes, Stenson has won, but the way that Bryson has been playing so far this year, I think that their upsides are, they could both win this event. I think that Louis on a rung below. Not to say that he can't win, but I just think the other two guys have been far more consistent. And I still think that Stenson will come in with you're really playing a range of ownership here, but I would still say he cracks double digits where Bryson might be like 3% owned. So I would just I would use ownership dictate that for me. And we've seen both of them on the course. They both kind of look fine by video, but who the hell knows on that? But it would be Bryson if I was going to use them, but I am not using any of them. Kevin asks, will Kevin Na us this week? Guess it all depends on where you're coming from. I'm not using Kevin Na, which means he's going to do what he did to me 2 weeks ago and Kevin Na me by winning. But if you use Kevin Na, you know where this could go very easily. Are you using Kevin Na, Reid?
No, I think it's a nice story. And I think him coming, he's playing really well, and I liked him at the Greenbrier, and he was popping for those. This is a different course, right? This is not the Greenbrier. This is not the same field.
What?
Yeah, right. I know, shocker, right? But no Kevin Na for me. I think again, there are some other guys. I like Peter Uihlein in that range. Pat Perez, even Henley going down that sub 7K range. They're guys that I like a little bit more than Kevin Na. I don't want to play that recent exposure of him winning, so it's going to be a pass for me.
Chris Johnson asks, he comments at Matthew Fox. Henrik Stenson put on his Instagram account story this morning. This is just top-notch research here, Chris. That his elbow is feeling surprisingly good, and there is hope. So there you go. Everyone use Henrik Stenson, so I don't have to. Dave C. asks, is there a good reason to pick non-stats matching players to a course based solely on salary? Finau may not match up well to the course. I don't know about that. But he's too cheap, for instance. Yeah, I think you should always be looking at value first and talent first over anything. Some of the biggest wins we've seen so far this year are people avoiding players who may not match up well, but they're just criminally undervalued, and you know that they're talented players. I can speak for myself with Satoshi Kodaira, that he was just undervalued. I had no idea if he set up well, and his stats aren't good because he never plays on the PGA Tour, and boom. all of a sudden I got money in my pocket. So yeah, Finau and ZJ are just going to be so chalky. That's why I'm not using them. But I both think that they're actually good plays. In a cash game lineup, you could probably use them both, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's other guys, especially for this tournament, where you look at the Euro Tour players that we don't necessarily get a lot of exposure to, right? Fantasy National doesn't have a lot of information on them because they don't potentially play too much on the PGA Tour. So we're not going to see those stats pop up. There are, situations where you can choose these players that are coming over. Like Olsen is someone, right, that a lot of people are looking into.
I released my betting cheat in terms of Olsen. I bet the amateur to beat him as top Danish player.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? And so I think you're gonna see a lot more people play these guys because of that Euro tilt. At the same time, right, you got a guy like Grillo is ranked 54th in the world, and he's sub 7K pricing. So yes, you want to play talent first. You want to play current form as opposed to just matching up on course history or course relevance.
All right, I do want to let everyone know, please give the episode a like. And in terms of Fantasy National, if you're not a member yet, there's some overlay going on, or not necessarily. I don't know if there's going to end up being overlay in the Millionaire Maker, but let me go check right now to see what's left. There are, it's starting to fill up. There are 40,000 spots left in the Millionaire Maker. So if you're become a Fantasy National member right now, I mean, 1.5 million at least earned since the Masters by FantasyNational.com members. So if you become a member, add to that total. You still got time to go do it. Only $8 for the week. Lineup generator, event simulator, full stat model, mixed condition model. It's everything you need to really cut down on research, get your lineups in right away, and a lot of people are using it. A lot of people are winning using it. And there's no picks on the site. It's just information. You use it how you deem fit. Find those sleepers for yourself and keep them to yourself. That's what the site's there for. FantasyNational.com. Check it out. Next question comes from Chris Johnson again. Pat, do you recommend setting up a core for the AM, a core for the PM, and a balance core? I do. Like I said, that's the way I did it. 5 AM stacks, 5 PM stacks, and 15 lineups with everyone mixed in. How many lineups are you playing, Reid?
I'm playing 20. I think I might increase that to 25 because I want to play some of these stacks. Probably going to go, 2 AM PM, then 2 PM AM. So it might be around 20 to 25.
Pat, thanks for all the content this week. This is from Scott. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I usually I'm not an anxious person, but right before major weeks with all the content coming out, I really hope it turns out well. My picks just aren't devastatingly bad, which they usually are. But I'm glad people have really enjoyed the content this week. I've tried to get as many good minds from around the industry to try to come on the show and give their picks, just to kind of weed my bad picks out. But this is a question about Mark Leishman. Does he have the tools to win this week? Yes, I think he does. Do you have him in any of your lineups? No, I don't. I ended up in that range going with a lot of Reid, a lot of Norin at just above. Then I went with Hatton and Poulter right below. And then I used some Patrick Cantlay as well. When I got rid of all my Bryson shares, I really diversified them onto Cantlay and Luke List. So that's what I'm doing in that range. Did you, Mr. Fowler, use any Mark Leishman?
I didn't because I want to play Stenson. I want to play Norin. I want to play those guys that are sub, the Hatton's right there at 7,900. Leishman's he's a fine play. He plays links well. We saw him play at Fort Worth and come second. Now his putting really saved him there. So that might be can shoot a little bit in terms of putting really saved him there. But this guy is always around these tournaments. We saw him pop at Augusta. We've seen him pop in other majors as well. So I can see the case for using him. I'm not, because I want to use some other guys in that range. And so him and Phil are the two guys that I'm fading in that low 8K range.
The next question comes about course history and things like that. I'm going to put it in the chat right now, Mike Miller's tournament history sheet. So if you scroll to the bottom of the chat, you can see the link in there right now. The big thing as it pertains to, the question is from Smokin' Guns 40. Would you rather use more Euro or American players this week, or a mixture of both? I'd rather just use good players, and the players that I think that are going to do the best. In a tiebreaker situation, and I mentioned this in my Dick Pills video that went up on the YouTube page, get some ED meds in you, delivered to your door, Roman Health. That when it comes down to a tiebreaker situation, there's many levels of tiebreakers. I will lean Euro over American if I think that all things are being equal, but I'll also factor in ownership. If it's a complete toss-up to me, I need to start looking for other factors which could help differentiate my team. So I would lean Euro over American, all things being equal, but I'm not going out of my way to say, hey, that American, can't use him, he's not European. Below 7,000 $7,000, I'm using Matthew Southgate and Ryan Fox. And Ryan Fox isn't even a Euro. He just plays on the European Tour. But like I'm using Russell Henley. I'm using Ryan Moore. I'm using Stuart Sink. I'm using Ryan Armao. I'm using Tani Hara. Yeah, Tani Hara. Yeah. He's got Sig Mo. I mean, you can build the all Sigs lineup, get that wind under control. But that's the way that I would go about it. Nothing more than a tiebreaker for me in terms of focus.
Right, exactly. And then in all ranges, right? Like you don't have to just do that with the high guys. You don't have to do it with the low guys. You can do it in all ranges because you have that mixture in this tournament where we bring more Euro guys over. We see guys now that are obviously going to be playing in this tournament. So for me, it's the same. You want to make sure that if there's a tiebreaker, you might want to lead more towards one way, but it's also preference as well. I think first party, you start with talent. If, is Hatton and Noren, who's playing better right now? Is Noren a better talent than Hatton? Because those are two guys that are usually priced similarly if their current form is similar. So those are the guys that I'm like, okay, well, now talent obviously has to reign true because they're both European players. You don't necessarily have to use it in terms of one way or the other. I think talent has to reign true, but this is the one tournament that you can lean Euro as opposed to the other ones.
Next question comes. Oh, I minimized the screen. That was stupid. Charles asks, Hideki or Molly? I'm not using either one of them. However, I think I would lean Molinari just going on form. If you want to save the ownership, I think Hideki comes in way under what Molly is, but it's not like Molly's going to be super chalky there either.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to be Hideki. I mean, 2 top 20s this year at Augusta and Shinnecock. This guy, we think his first major win is probably going to be the Open Championship because of how he plays. He does have the PM AM stack, so that potentially scares me off a little bit. But I like him here. 10th in bogey avoidance, 20th in scrambling, and top 5 in par 4 scoring over the last 24 rounds. And all the stats are there. His putting is getting better, so I'd rather go Hideki there, especially with the ownership. If I can get him at around 10%, around there, then I'm in on Hideki.
I think you're getting Hideki lower than 10%. I think that Molly at best comes in at 10%, probably like 9 to 12, that sort of range. But he could dip into single digits. I think that Hideki's range is more like 6 to 8%, and you get the potential that if everyone gravitates towards Noren or people are buying Stenson again, then just no one's using him. So there's always that situation as well. We're moving up to Casey or Tiger. Next question actually comes from Twitter. Big Chi Town 5-star asks, question. Emiliano Grillo only has one Euro tournament at the Hero Open where he was 6th. As an under $7,000 player, would you rather use him, Ryan Fox, who is a consistent European player? I mean, it's the Hero Indian Open. He actually traveled over to India to go play in that event. That's the last time I think he played Euro. Yeah, I mean, that part doesn't really bother me. I actually think that he sets up quite well for a link-style course, Emiliano Grillo. He's played well in Opens past, or at least an Open past. But I'm not using him based on ownership. Everyone is using Emiliano Grillo this week. Like I said, I bet him at 200 to 1. It's enough exposure for me, and I got the top 8 each way on that. So if he gets up there, then hey, I'm cashing in on him either way. My DraftKings lineup's probably dead if he ends up winning, but I don't think that Emiliano Grillo is probably going to win. But he could come inside the top 10. And full disclosure, I am using Ryan Fox instead, but I need far fewer shares of Ryan Fox in my lineups over Grillo to be overweight to the market, so that way I can diversify a little bit more. Basically, I'm getting a shot with Henley, Fox, and Southgate for the price of one Grillo, and I'd rather do that.
Yeah, and another guy I'll mention in there as well. I'm playing Grillo, but I can see why you would want to fade him on ownership in the sub 7K range. He's going to be double digits easy in my estimation. But Dylan Fratelli is another guy that
Dylan does not spit hot fire, by the way.
No, he doesn't. That's the other Dylan. But I do like him. I like him in this situation. Look, his off the tee game is nice, and he's tee to green and scrambling around the green. Don't ask him if he's not hitting the greens in reg to get up and down. But I do like him. In the same vein of looking at Ryan Fox, looking at Henley, I'm going to take a shot on Fratelli just because I like that ownership and I like his past experience on the Euro Tour. That's something that I see with Brooks, obviously, outside of just his talent in major championships. Is I do like that major experience, the Euro experience, not necessarily playing this year, but have played on the Euro Tour in the past.
Stephen asks, are people snoring on Noren? Just how scary is the poltergeist? Roll the dice with Phil Mickey Dice or Hideki Yatsuyama? Who am I using from there? I'm using Poulter and Noren.
Yeah, Poulter, Hideki. Noren's another one. I would have thought Noren would have been a little bit higher owned.
Noren's going to be like 20-something% owned.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me right now on Fantasy National, I see him around 15 again. That's right of the lineups that have been made. But I'm using Noren. I'm not using Phil, and that alliteration was pretty nice.
Any news on Bryson and Stenson's injuries? We covered that a little bit towards the beginning of the show if you want to check that out. Steven, I'm getting worried about Stenson. I've got 40% exposure in 20 lineups. Should I back down or roll more on to Noren, Leishman, or Molinari? Listen, we don't know what this isn't even. Okay, think about this. Think about like all the Patriots injuries in the NFL. We never really know what they are or whether they're going to be able to play or not. So golf injuries are like the Patriots if the Patriots didn't have to tell us anything. So we don't really know. Listen, I think that the news coming out about Stenson is getting a little bit better, but I'm not sold either way, so I'm not going to use him. But I think if there is a stance to play, I don't think you want to take minimal shares of Stenson. You want to be 40% or you want to be 0%. Make a stand on Stenson either way. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And like you said, there are some different types of injuries, right? Like a shoulder injury or a back injury. Some of these things, right? And wrist is bad, right? We saw Brooks be out for quite some time, and so it is a bad injury. We just don't know. There's no information, and these guys aren't required to tell us what it is at a certain point. So even if he's starting, even if all the reports say he's playing, he still could withdraw because of that injury. You're right. Take a stance. Either use 0 or go all in with him at 40%. I'm using about 15 to 20% Stenson.
Quit being a coward. Use 50% Stenson.
Yeah. No. I got to just, I'm a little coward with Stenson just because the injury does scare me a little bit. So I don't want to be fully exposed to him.
Alex asked, can Lee Westwood put up enough birdies to be DraftKings viable? I certainly hope not.
No Westwood. But
people will use Westwood, though, because he's a name.
Yeah, but I mean, come on! Like, how many times does he have to come? Well, I mean, he doesn't have the most runner-ups, I think, in major history. I mean, this guy, has quite a bit. He was, a top golfer at one point, but just not for me.
All right. No way. Next question from Charles: Sergio or Tiger? I think it's Tiger.
Yeah, it's Tiger for me as well. This is the one major I think you can do well at. So, Tiger for me.
Clark asks, best player under $7,000, Pat. Well, these are all up my DK cheat sheet, but I think my single favorite play, this is going to be so painful when he starts missing 2-foot putts, but I like Ryan Moore a lot.
Yeah, he popped in my stat model too. Some guy that, we talked about, I think Russell Henley is one of my favorite plays at this price range, but there's some other guys like Bernhard Langer is someone that I'm.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I just potentially give it a little extra just because he's someone that always kind of, comes around. You've said in your shows before, we see like an old guy do really well here in the, couple of days. So it might be like an early bet, but he's someone that I'm kind of looking in on. But Russell Henley would be my favorite play in that sub 7K.
Clark asks, no, that was Clark's question. Robbie J asks, Pat, Rory, or Jordan? I'm Team Rory.
Yeah, I think you got to go. I'm not playing either, but I think you got to go Rory.
I built some spicy Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy lineups. Oh. They're not good.
Yeah, I tried to do that. Yeah, you better have a lot of guys in that sub 7K range because it was a tough build. I tried to do it, but I couldn't.
Chad asked, thoughts on Webb Simpson, a top 30 player in the world with a win this year and has a great upside, but also so inconsistent. Ever since the players have just been off Webb, I haven't been using him at all. And there seems to be, I wish I had used him at the U.S. Open because he played really well. But it's funny. For years, his putter was so bad that his tee to green game was so good and his putting was so bad that it just hampered him. Now the putting is pretty good. It's reverted back to sort of baseline a little bit in terms of being average on tour. But the tee to green game is not where it was, especially even from earlier in the season. So I'm not going to be using any Webb Simpson.
I want to be in on Webb just because we talked about earlier, there's some guys that I want to pivot off of in that range. So I will be using Webb. I think Berger is someone that I'd rather be using that situation. But if you look at his approach game, if you look at his scrambling and his ability to stay away from the big numbers and bogeys, I do like Webb. Not going to be too overweight on him. Probably going to match the field. So I'm going to be playing Webb.
So you have like 10% Webb. I expect him to be like 10, 12%.
Yeah. Two lineups.
Remy Lopez asks, what are your thoughts on Andy Sullivan? I can't stand Andy Sullivan, but I know you like him.
I do like him. He doesn't spend any time on the PGA Tour. all of his time is spent on the Euro Tour. I do like him. Off the tee game is nice. His bogey avoidance is nice, and he's got solid finishes since I think the Omega in Dubai. So I do like Andy Sullivan as one of my lower price guys in that low 7K range.
Dustin, for GPPs, do you like Pat Perez? Why, yes, Dustin, I do, because I'm bad at this.
I mean, how many times you got to play Perez? I mean, he's the one guy that you could take a shot on at that price range. There's a lot of guys in that $7,000 range that I like, but no Perez for me.
Of the $7,000 guys, I like Charlie Hoffman the best. But Pat Perez is just going to be there at sub 1% ownership. He was top 20 in 2007 at Carnoustie. Yeah. So he has the year around the green game. I just don't know where he's at. The one encouraging thing that I did see from Pat Perez, he made the cut at the U.S. Open, which is really nice. And although he could not make a putt at the Travelers the following week, the approach game was plus 3.5 strokes gained on approach. So if he can just get it back a little bit, I actually think he has considerable upside in this range. Some people, you're using Uline, I'd rather use Pat Perez. I just think he's a better player. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that can get birdies too, right? So, I mean, he's I think close to 100th in bogey avoidance, but he's someone that can get that back in birdies. And you're going to have to score on the par fives, and that's where we like to see Pat Perez. It's just I haven't seen it. Yes, he's won this season, right? So you're getting win equity down there in the 7K range, but just not for me. I'd rather play some of these guys, for me, in my opinion, that have higher upside. Ledyard Via asks, Louis Oosthuizen super underrated pivot play? Potentially, yeah. No one's using him. So if you got any confidence in Big Louis and pray that his bed showed up in Scotland, then yeah, go nuts. But not for me.
Yeah, not for me. I'm potentially going to eat the chalk and Russell Knox in that same price range. But yeah, not for me. Even guys like, Hatton's right there above him. Even Adam Scott is someone that I'm potentially looking into, but no Louis for me. I'm going to fade him.
Next question is from Joseph. Sullivan, Willett, or Finau? I only used one of these guys in my lineup, and it's Danny Willett. But objectively, Finau is the better play. If you're playing cash, I would definitely play Finau. If I wasn't just sort of fading ownership in this spot, I would also play Finau, but I have a lot of chalky guys at the top, and adding Finau to that eclectic mix of players is probably not the best option. So, like I said, instead of having Finau and Zach Johnson, I kind of distributed and if I was going to play Finau, I'd need to have 35. If I was playing, okay, how can I explain this best? If I was playing 2 lineups, I might use Finau, but where I'm playing 25, where I'd have to have him 10 or 7 in order to just match the field or slightly be overweight, I'd rather take 4 other guys at lower percentages in that spot to kind of cover my bases and hope that 2 of them beat Finau. But I do like Finau, but I'll be using Willett of that bunch.
Yeah, Finau has sort of that Fleetwood-esque dynamic, right, where he's going to be so chalky and a lot of people are going to play him. So if you fade Finau, you're boxing out potentially 20-25% ownership, and you have guys down there that have some upside. Jorge Campillo, your boy, he's down there as well.
I'm not going to use Jorge Campillo. He broke my heart in Scotland.
Yeah. So, but like you said, right? If I'm playing Finau, he's one of my core guys, so I have to be overweight on him. Hopefully, he doesn't break my heart or his ankle on Wednesday at the Pro-Am potentially, if there is one. But yeah, for me, I'm Finau. I'm not playing Willett. Obviously, I like Andy Sullivan, but there are pivots down there that you can go to that I do like. But I like Finau the best.
Connor says, I want to back John Rahm, but I don't. I ended up using Rahm, and he's a part of that AM wave that's coming out, and there are very few really good names as a part of that AM wave. So I have a lot of lineups with Rahm, not a lot, but I can actually tell you exactly how many lineups I have with Rahm. I have 25% John Rahm in my lineups this week, and I think he's in 4 of 5 of my AM PM stacks. So that's where I'm using with John Rahm. I needed someone to pair with Rory as a top end guy there from the AM, and then I didn't want to use Justin Rose because I kind of made a stance that I'm not using Justin Rose this week, and Rahm was the next best option for me.
I was listening to the guys over at Daily Roto and their podcast, Going for the Green. It's awesome stuff. So if you guys don't subscribe and listen to them, they said that of his 50 starts, I believe, John Rahm talking about, he's got 20 top fives, which is unbelievable in terms of where this guy's talent is, but also why we haven't seen him necessarily pop at these majors. And so I'm looking into that in terms of if I want to fade a Ricky, for instance, and get that AM stack, Rahm is a guy that I'm looking into. And like you were saying, if you're going away from the dust and chalk at the top and you want to start your lineups at Rory and Rahm, that is a solid play. It's a solid start to your lineup. So yeah, Rahm is a great leverage because we're getting an elite talent who hasn't necessarily broken that wall yet to winning a major, but 20 top fives in his 50 starts is unbelievable. So yeah, I do like Rahm.
Next question. Are you going to play Woo Kim? Yes, I played him in 8% of my lineups, which means two of 25 lineups, and they're both the AM stack lineups.
Right. I mean, we always talk about this. Siwoo gives you win equity, right? And wherever he is, and 6'5", what else are you getting? Where else are you getting win equity? You maybe Stuart Singh back in the early 2000s, but Siwoo is, he's that Ricky Bobby, like we always talk about. He either wins the tournament or he comes dead last. So take a flyer and Siwoo. I like that.
Mr. Villa asks, full fade on Stenson and DeChambeau. Don't have the guts to play them. I'm not playing them either, so we're on the same page. We can lose together if they go off. Bruce Hoskins asks, it's a Spieth comeback narrative. Don't call it a comeback, because I need him to miss the cut.
Yeah, I don't even think, for me, I don't think he gets in the top 25, to be honest. So, yeah, I can see it potentially. This is what he did last year to us, too. I mean, at least he won coming into last year before the tournament, but he hasn't scratched top 20 in quite some time. So, no for me.
Oh, man, there's a lot of questions in here. It just skipped on me. Where are we at here? Loving... That's not even a question. No, we're back to this again. What country wins this year? I'm going to say America.
Ooh, I'm going to say England.
Okay. Thoughts on your boy Luke List and Sugar Shane Lowry? They are actual sleepers I like quite a bit. I'm playing List and I'm not playing Shane Lowry. You?
Same here. Same here.
Okay. Any interest in Scottish Open runner-up Eddie Pepperell? After watching him and Stone on Sunday just destroy, and my main man, are you Aaron Ray, and Luke List not have the guts to get to the top of the leaderboard, it made me very sad. Pepperell I like more than Stone, but I'm not going to be using either.
Yeah, I think current form might be looking at Pepperell. He's a solid play, but I don't want to be on that ownership. And again, it's not going to be too much, but recent form, I just don't know, and I'm not going to be playing Pepperell.
Is Tommy Fleetwood safe for cash? Missed 3 straight cuts at the Open Championship, but yeah, you probably don't need to take Tommy in cash, though, because you can just downgrade and take, like, Paul Casey, who probably has a similar chance of making the cut. Same as Tiger probably has a similar chance of making the cut, and they're just cheaper. So I would go to those two lower guys rather than Tommy in cash games.
Same here, yeah. Paul Casey, I mean, at 8,700, I think he's a safer player. Also getting that price relief. So, yeah, I think Tommy Fleetwood is a solid. He has a nice play, but at the same time, I'm looking at boxing out that ownership as well. Tommy's 25%, one of the guys that you predicted to be very high owned. So I'm not necessarily on Tommy as much as maybe the industry is or DFS industry is. So I'd rather go Paul Casey in that situation.
Am I an idiot for loving Adam Hadwin coming into the Open in terrible form? I'm not going to sit here and call you an idiot. Adam Hadwin's a good player, but yeah, that terrible form has me way off of him.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, he keeps on going down and down and down in pricing, and it's more tempting to play him. But no, for me, he's just not. Something is off with him. His tee to green, his putting is just not there. So no, for me.
Well, and the whole thing is, he's still $7,000. There are better players with better recent form and better British Open history that are cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
2 players left in the lineup, thinking Grayson Molinari or Koepka Cantlay. I'll say Koepka Cantlay.
Yeah, I think Koepka's a solid play.
How important are the results for the U.S. Open and the Masters for this week? I mean, it's nice to see that guys are playing well at major championships when the pressure is really ratcheted up, but it's not like, oh, he came inside the top 5 at the U.S. Open. You have to play him here, like that kind of thing. I think we're kind of independent of that.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much corollary. Obviously, there's the course corollaries aren't going to be the same. Weather is not going to be the same. So I don't necessarily put a huge stock. You want to see, like you were saying, as a context, do these guys play well under pressure? Other than that, I'm not using it as – I might use it as a tiebreaker, but not using it as one of my main statistics.
I would think that the U.S. Open, Shinnecock is a much better corollary for Carnoustie than Augusta would be. So that's the way that I would look at it. It's going to be the same approach. You got to hit fairways off the tee. If you start getting into the thick stuff, you might be screwed. So, I mean, it's not like Augusta where, unless you're in the middle of the trees, you can basically hit it anywhere you want. Is Phil a sneakily good pick for a top 10? Potentially, yes. Phil in the betting market has now bottomed out at 70 to 1. He was 25 to 1 a week ago. That's insane. No one is taking Phil. No one is using him on DraftKings. If I had any guts, I would use Phil, but I don't. So, yeah, I think you're getting good value. Like, Matthew Fitzpatrick is favored over Phil now. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, that is ludicrous. And the same way we look at statistics, right, of our guys, is their odds, you know, to their DraftKings pricing, you know, this is the same way. He's going the opposite way. So, yeah, he's sneaky. Not a lot of people are talking about him. You and I aren't playing him. So if you want the contrarian play to a Stenson, if you don't feel safe with a guy like Stenson, who's right there by Phil, take a shot because no one is playing Phil, including myself. So,
do you know who's won like $500K the past few weeks on DraftKings, Reid?
Not me.
No, it wasn't me either. It was actually the Gup. I just got an email from the Gup. So everyone should go to gupscorner.com, especially tonight, because they have a free live chat where you can interact with other people, with Gup, with everyone from the site. I believe it's at 7 p.m. Eastern time, gupscorner.com. I highly recommend it. I even might pop in for a bit. And again, I'll be doing a Twitter chat at like 4:30 p.m. when I'm on the elliptical doing my I'm fake skiing. This is great. Oh God, I hate the elliptical. Anyway, he just sent me his weather model. No, the stationary bike is the worst machine. Gup's weather model he just sent me. It shows all of the tee times with all the players, like who have good draws, who have bad draws. It's really interesting. I'm sure he's going to put it up on gupscorner.com. I just got the email, so everyone check that out later on tonight. I'm sure he's going to update it as it goes along too. Bryce asks, pick a pair: Fleetwood, Poulter, DJ, Southgate, Fowler, Hatton. What do you mean? Oh, they're together. I see. I'd say DJ and Southgate. What about you?
What was it? So it's DJ, Southgate.
Fleetwood,
the other two?
Fleetwood, Poulter, or Fowler, Hatton.
I would go Fowler, Hatton in that sense. I do like both those guys in terms of ownership as well. So I go Fowler, Hatton.
I hope Ricky comes dead last.
Oh, poor guy. No, he wants to join his. You know, he's the whole crew's got a major championship. You hope Ricky is not one of those guys who just doesn't win one like the Greg Normans and the Montes. But yeah, I mean DJ is a nice play, but for ownership purposes, I like that Fowler stack.
Fowler's going to be higher owned than DJ.
You think? I think they might be. I mean, DJ got around 18%. You think Ricky's going to be 20 around there?
I think Ricky's going to be closer to 25. I think that if we were just doing straight up ownership projections, I think DJ's going to be like 20%. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's going to be like Ricky, Fleetwood. I think a lot of people are going to start their teams with Ricky. Is what's going to end up happening. So you might get some Spieth Ricky, you might get some DJ Ricky, but Ricky will end up being the common link on a lot of those teams just because of the price point. That's why I'm not playing him really. And I know that so many people are in on him. I'm not sold on him versus the other guys around him. So why would I play him, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think you get in the $8,000 range, you're going to see that ownership really just kind of go across the board. But in that 9,000, yeah, I think Ricky and Fleetwood are those guys that are garnering a lot of ownership. But at the same time, in terms of I have more DJ than Ricky, but at the same time, I do think that stack is a little more conducive because Hatton. Yes, he's a name that we saw pop earlier in this season, but I don't think a lot of guys are going to be playing Hatton, so I like him.
Oh, I certainly hope so. I like Hatton as well. Carl Cooper II asks, which is a better play, Paul Casey or Jason Day? Never thought I'd be here, but I think it's Paul Casey.
Yeah, I think so too. I think value-wise, in terms of maybe pricing and odds, Jason Day does present some value in that sense, but who's a better play? It's going to be Paul Casey for me as well.
Pat, longtime Fantasy National user, how do we account for the 50-plus players without stats? Feel like I'm missing on some Euros. Well, I mean, that's on you to go do some research on this or even listen to us. We've sort of identified some of the better links players. If you go to futureoffantasy.com, Josh Kolp's site, he has a lot of information on strokes gained links, players in the wind, that kind of thing. Or just go to the official World Golf Rankings page, OWGR.com, and just kind of look at how these guys have been playing recently. And in that spreadsheet that I put in from Mike Miller's page shows you, too, how the recent results have been looking for a lot of these guys. So those are the three places that I would use to make up for the fact that there just isn't really any good Euro data as it comes down to it. Yep. Pat, you have been saying your love for old guy that pops at this tourney every year. I know you mentioned Second Goose and any love for Westwood. He's been playing pretty decently lately. He's just overpriced for me. The reason I like those other guys because they're cheap and have long odds. Westwood is still kind of being priced like he's better than he is.
Right, exactly. At 7,200, obviously there's guys that I like better than Westwood. I've mentioned Langer. I know he's one of those guys that, always sort of pops around these majors. We see him at Augusta, obviously not the same course, but he always is around there. And his putting in his short game is something that always saves a guy like longer. But other than that, your boy Sink is someone that I'm looking into as well as the older, quote unquote, guys that are going to pop here.
Let's also not forget Stuart Sink can't putt. So that could end up being a real problem as we go in. This is why he's 6,600. Craig asks, is Stenson still a good cash player? Would you go with Noren or drop down to Leishman or Hatton? I would just play Noren.
Yeah, same here for cash.
Which scares you more, the Ender curse on Fitz or the attempt at a reverse curse on Phil? The Ender curse on Fitz doesn't actually worry me because I'm not using any Fitz. I don't like Matthew Fitzpatrick, but that is what would concern me of this group.
Yeah. Fitzpatrick, he wasn't even on my radar for one and done. Did he just kind of pick a name out of a hat there?
No, we bullied him into making a pick on the U.S. Open Cut Sweat Show, and that's who we picked because Matthew Fitzpatrick had made like 3 birdies in a row at the U.S. Open.
Yeah. So it doesn't scare me. I'm not using Fitz either. I mean, the reverse curse. Look, Phil's not playing. I mean, Phil's not going to be highly owned. So I think maybe, but yeah, the Matthew Fitzpatrick doesn't scare me at all.
Kyle says, why no love for Keegan Bradley? 3 top 20s his last 4 times at the Open Championship. I saw that too. Then I started putting Keegan into my lineups. I was like, I'm having flashbacks to the U.S. Open. So my own personal bias is preventing me from playing Keegan Bradley. But that's really the only reason not to play him. He's a late add into the field, so maybe he wasn't over there getting some reps in. But I don't think that he's a disastrous play, and you're probably going to get him at sub 1%.
Yeah, he was an alternate. He got in somewhat. I forget who it was who withdrew.
John Daly. John Daly withdrew and Keegan got a spot.
There you go. And that range, too, that 7,100, I'm skipping over. I'm not using anyone. Benny Ann was someone that I looked into a little bit at that price. But I'm just not on Keegan like you're right. At the U.S. Open, he was someone that we were touting, someone that I liked, but just burned us all. So I'm not going to be playing any Keegan.
Bill says, great content as always, buddy. Thanks, Bill. Are we still on to release UFC Hamburg tomorrow? Cody and Paul are the best in the game. I agree with that. I'm jonesing for the breakdown, bruh. Paul, are we still good for tomorrow, do you think?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, is the question. So I think we're filming that sometime like around noon tomorrow. So it'll be out like Thursday afternoon-ish. So be on the lookout for UFC Hamburg. Well, you need some DFS action on DraftKings for European UFC cards where... If it was me, I'd just mispronounce everyone's name. Cody is especially good at these Euro cards because he's actually seen these people fight, unlike like 98% of the population. Will Grace make his 20th straight cut? I hope not. I love myself some Brendan Grace, but I'm off of him this week, so I kind of hope he misses. You?
Yeah, I'm not on Grace either. I think he's a fine play. He's one of these plotters, right? You want him on these courses. And we saw last year at the Open where he strung off a bunch of birdies. And so I think where we saw his finish last year was because of that in that one round. I forget if it was a Saturday or Sunday that happened. But yeah, I'm not playing Grace. And so I'm in the same camp with you. I hope he doesn't because I want to box out that ownership. So for me, it's a no on Grace.
LeBron James. King James is in there. All these people here hit that like button. Pat's the man. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the man, but hit the like button. That goes a long way. Also, I just tweeted out the chat. We're going to keep this going for as long as possible, so please retweet that out. Let's get as many eyeballs on this as possible. And if you're new and you're just tuning in right now, scroll to the comment section and check out not the comment section, the description. Check out all the previous content if you're new to this. Thanks for tuning in. How much Molinari will you be using in your DK lineups? 0 for me. Reed?
0 for me. I think he's just coming in way too hot right now for ownership, so 0 for me.
Can you raise Pat's volume? It's low compared to Guess. That is the exact opposite of what everyone else says, because people just get mad that I yell too much. Is Bo Hostler in reach? In great form, Duke can put the lights out. I'm not, but I've heard a lot of buzz about Bo Hostler. People are kind of keeping him on the DL around the industry, but I think that he's going to come in at like 5-6%, much more than the projected like 1.
Yeah, I just don't like his around the green game. Putting is what has saved him in the past in some of these, so I think his stats or his finishing positions are skewed. Yeah, you need putting at this tournament, at this course especially, but I just don't have any faith. I'd rather play guys like a Henley. But if you're pivoting off of that ownership, maybe, but not for me.
This Griff guy says, Day and Matsuyama excel in the wind. I mean, wind stats are tricky to begin with because there's such a limited sample of guys actually playing in this that you can't really, like if one per like Snedeker gets a rep for being a great win player because he won that crazy at Torrey, he won at Torrey Pines like 3 years ago when everyone else shot 83, he shot 67. He got the better end of the draw because he went out early and just sat in the clubhouse and won. So he gets credited for those win stats, but he didn't play in the gusty wins like everyone else. So if you're looking at stats as it pertains to win, they can be very, very misleading. Just from me watching, I've always found that Dustin has been the best win player. Just because he can break out an iron off the tee, retain very good distance, and keep the ball low as it comes into that. But if I sort by Windy AF on FantasyNational.com and look over the past 50 rounds, I can tell you who has the most strokes gained total in that. Actually, you know what? I'll look at tee to green, and maybe you want to separate putting from that as well, just because maybe putting in the wind is a little bit differently. But over the past 50 rounds, I was like, Aaron Badley. I have it on the stupid Barbasol field because I was degenning and looking at some Barbasol odds. I'll switch it over to the Open Championship and see who rates out well in strokes gained total as it pertains to the wind. Might take a second here to load. Here we go. Strokes gained total in the wind, and when it's windy AF, so above 20 miles per hour, Dustin Johnson. Dustin, Matt Kuchar, Adam Scott, Daniel Berger, John Rahm, Ricky Fowler, Sergio, Kelly Kraft, Luke List, Bubba Watson. But when we're tracking these rounds, the person with the most rounds is 31 with Matt Kuchar. Dustin Johnson has 21. John Rahm has 8. So like I said, those are very, very limited sample sizes and drawn from like over the past 5 years in terms of really windy courses. So I think there's a lot of noise as it pertains to wind stats, and that's where I'm landing on it. And some people can just tune into a windy event and be like, oh, that guy looks great. He must be good in the wind. That's not always the case. Yeah. Can bombers take the fairway pot bunkers out of play on a lot of holes? If it stays firm and fast, almost anyone with a modicum of accuracy can take a lot of this stuff out of play. So I wouldn't really be worried too much about fairway bunkers. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you want someone who can, who has scrambling around the green and, strokes gained or sand saves, which is something that you can look on Fantasy National. You want to see some of that. Again, when you're looking at strategy, Brooks came out and said yesterday that he's going to hit 9 drivers, out of 18 holes. So you want a guy who can potentially change his strategy. So I wouldn't necessarily say, right, all these guys, these bombers are just going to hit it over the pot bunkers and risk the potential of hitting it into the fescue. I'm not too worried about that. I do like the bombers that can club it down like a Brooks, like a Luke List, right? That Gary Woodland is someone that I'm looking into as well. But I don't necessarily think that, okay, because these guys can hit it far, they're going to hit over the pot bunkers. They're going to get into the bunkers at some point. There's so many on this course, and they're tough. So I wouldn't rule that out.
Strategy for selecting non-millionaire maker contest to play. High versus low fee, single versus capped entry versus uncapped. I believe, let me just go to the DraftKings lobby for a second. There was a 3 max that I totally forgot there'd be no 3 max $20 this week because the millionaire maker is $20. Yep. But I think that there is, it's either a 50 or 100 max. I'm not sure what's open. There's 150 max. Like if you were thinking about putting a whole bunch of entries into the millionaire maker, but instead wanted to have a tournament with better odds to win, I think that 3 max 150 entry, 250K prize pool, 30 grand to the winner. Like you're exponentially increasing your odds in order to win those. If you feel like you have a solid core, only want to play 3 lineups, but are good with investing $450, I think that's a really good one to play. The $4.20 max, I maxed that out. I think that's always a fun one to play. That's only $80. I think it's still 100 grand to the winner. That's a really good one. And you can try let's see if there's space left. I think they may have just run another one. There was a $33 single entry, pay $7,500 for first place. I think that's a good one to enter too. If you're the tournaments with the fewer amount of people at the higher stakes are always the better tournaments to play. Of course, not everyone can afford to do that, but I think that $33 one falls into a good range that if you didn't want to play the milli, that's less than 2 milli lineup, so go for it.
Yeah, and those are always fun, right? You don't have to worry about like what we're talking with the ownerships and stuff like that. You want to take more of who are the guys that you like because you have 3 lineups. Your core is obviously going to be that single entry, right? You don't care about ownership. You just want your lineup to win. So I like to diversify my my card a little bit. The milli maker obviously is a lot of fun, but if you can't afford it, there are some other ones that even the dollar entry, like you said, there's a $1.20 max. So it's $20 to play. So even if you don't want to get extreme exposure and your bankroll is a little less, go with those.
Tyler asks, one and done, top 20 currently in the money ×2 tournament. I mean, if you're top 20 in the money of the one and done, I don't know what you're asking me for, because I am not inside the top 20. Reid, Grace, Noren, Hatton, please and thank you. I'll say Noren and then Reid, but if you think that more people might be using Noren, actually, I guess if you're inside the top 20, you can go chalk if you want. Noren it is for me.
Yeah, I would say Noren just a little bit above Reid.
If you had like options open, like I'm using Dustin Johnson, I've saved him for this spot to use.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to play catch up or go contrarian and one and done, do you think Rory's a good play? Because I do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you hadn't used him at the U.S. Open or at Augusta, absolutely. Because look at his past history here. He's got 3 top 5s with 1, including a win outside of a missed cut in the past 4 years. So if you have him, use him. Absolutely.
Doug asks, how do you feel about a Ryan Moore, Zach Johnson roster start? I think a lot of people, Moore's going to come in with far less ownership than ZJ. ZJ is going to be one of the highest owned guys in the contest. I like that for cash. That's fine because you can really pad the top end of your roster with a lot of guys. But if you're going to use that build, anytime you're using one of the ultra chalky guys, and having Moore is better than having Griot from that perspective, you need to find one spot to go off the board a little bit, I think. But I don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's starting where you're starting from the bottom, and I see that. I like that.
Yeah,
that strategy.
That's what we call in the biz the Drake build.
Exactly. See how we're crossing? Look at that, crossing industries. I like it. But at the same time, right, it's not a bad play. We talked about Ryan Moore earlier. Tee to green, all of the stats that we're looking at, he's pretty elite over the last 24 rounds, right? You see ball striking, tee to green, and approach. The things that you were looking at, that we're looking at, are doing well. So I do like that. You're right with the ZJ. He's going to have a lot of ownership. And so that 7,200 range, look at some of those pivots that we're talking about earlier. For me, Andy Sullivan is that guy. But I wouldn't, the ZJ stack is a nice one.
Free Time asks another one and done question. Who do you think are some solid contrarian picks? I would say if you're ever going to go contrarian and one and done, what you should really be doing is taking highly favored guys that no one else is using. It's not like Paul and I were talking about this in the office the other day. Paul's top 10 in the one and done right now, and he was going through his options of who he has left. And he has like 6 elite players left that he can use. And Tim is out here with using like Matthew Fitzpatrick. Like there's only 40 tournaments. Like you can use all of the top guys at some point. You want to do it in this type of tournament. So to go contrarian doesn't mean you need to pick some loser who's not going to win. Pick Rory, pick Rahm. Like those are 2 guys that people will not be using. Justin Thomas is another one that people are not going to be using in the one and done. And presumably you probably have one of those 3 guys left, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even going lower price guys. I mean, like we talked about, Kuchar has a decent chance.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't even need to use those guys.
Yeah,
save
you
Kuchar.
don't.
Like when you get into your Kuchars and you get into like your Hattons and like that, you can have some fun playing them if you want to, but like save Kuchar for those like Colonial, where he's just going to show up and play against bums. Right, exactly. Well, Jason Day, right? He's a guy that his odds don't match, right, where his potential value or win equity is. And so, yeah, if you have, I mean, I think Paul has it a little bit harder. He's got so many, right? He's got half a dozen options at the top that he's got to choose one. But you'd rather have those options. So if you can, we just talked about it. Rory is a fine play. JT, I mean, he's one of the top golfers. How many wins does he have since 2017? I think he's only second, or he's close to DJ in terms of the most amount of wins in the last year and a half. So that's what you want, right? So choose those guys. Those guys at the top that we talked about are some contrarian plays. Greg asks, ownership projections on Jordan Spieth and Jon Rahm. I have Jordan Spieth at 7%, Jon Rahm at 7%. Yeah, they're going to be sub 10%. Kyle, what do you think about Rafa Cabrera Bello? He's got decent open history. I actually kind of like how his game sets up for this course. I didn't use him. I don't like the way that he's really been playing since like March. But as a pivot play, if you feel like stylistically, I think he matches the course really well. If you think he can find the form again, then RCB is a fine play, just not for me. Yeah, good with the approach. And in that price range, right, like I said, I'm using Russell, Knox, and some other guys below, right? If you're trying to find a guy that you want to pivot off of DeChambeau because you're worried about his injury, I think Rafa RBC is a good play. We saw him pop in the early rounds at the U.S. Open, and then he kind of faltered over the weekend. But you're right. He sets up here. He sets up nicely, but just not for me. Poulter or Louis? Poulter for me. Yeah, Poulter as well. Any word on Stenson and Brooks' health? We covered that at the beginning of the show. We don't want to. There's a lot of questions we can't start repeating here. Thoughts on Bronson Burgoon, the Goonies? He better be. He's on a good streak. Thoughts on Lahiri? comparison of Sink versus Cook. Who's got a better shot at making the cut? I'm out on Burgoon. I'm definitely out on Lahiri because I'm always out on Lahiri. I like Sink more than I like Cook. Cook was one of my last cuts from that scrub range because I think that Sink does have a better chance of making the cut.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Burgoon's stats, right, it's obviously pulling in the most recent where he's done well at courses like Greenbrier and some of these other tournaments that we're seeing leading up to it. I'm out on Burgoon. I do like him in these other tournaments, but just not here. And Austin Cook is another one that I'm fading as well. So I do like Sink out of that, at those names that guy just mentioned.
Peter asks, I'm playing 20 GPP lineups with 25 players too many for a player pool. I mean, that's probably about the max that you want to be. I try to trim a few guys out of it, though.
Yeah, I try to stay within that 20, 25, like you said, is max, but I try to stay at around 20 for me.
Fulton Job, ownership on Lowry and Paul Dunn. Get her done. Quality links players that American DK players won't touch. Well, Shane Lowry just hasn't been good at the British Open over the years, so that kind of worries me a little bit. And he's the same price as Luke List. I'm definitely going to use Luke List instead. In terms of Paul Dunn, I never really have a good feel for Paul Dunn, but right now he's looking like a 1%er, and Lowry is looking like a 3%er.
Yeah, same. I think that just froze, but same. Yeah, 1% for both of those guys as well.
More Bryson questions again at the beginning of the show. I'm straight fading him, but of all the injured guys, he is the one that I would be tempted to play. If you need someone at 6,300 and below, is Sean Crocker someone to look at, or don't bother? I think I'll be on team don't bother.
Yeah, don't bother. I mean, I know we just said fading Burgoon at 6,300, but I mean, of the guys that I'm looking at here, I mean, there's no guy. Darren Clark has decent history at the Open, but I mean, are you playing him? No. So I don't think you need to go down to 6,300.
Favorite under 7K Euro Tour player? It's a toss-up for me between Matthew Southgate and Ryan Fox. I'll take Matthew Southgate.
Yeah, I think
you could also mix Bjork into that mix too.
Yeah, Bjork is a nice play. I mean, if you want to find stats, right, the Euro stats, Bjork is ranking out pretty nicely. Again, take it with a grain of salt because I think it's only a handful of rounds that they have, but Bjork is someone that I'm looking at as well as a Euro player that is popping under 7K.
Ryan asks your favorite, Grace, Leishman, or Poulter? I'll take Poulter.
Yeah,
okay.
Poulter.
Kyle, what do you think of Burgoon? We just talked about Burgoon. Pat, need a pivot play off Stenson. I'm fading too. Well, I mean, you could pivot up in ownership and take Alex Noren, or like Hatton is right there. The pivot play in that range is Phil. I'm not using him, but he's going to come in at like 5% ownership. And it's Phil. He could win.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Leishman, stays in that 10 or sub 10%, then he might be another one. But those are the two guys. Like you said, you could go lower in that high 7. There's some guys that we like, but those are the two guys in that same price range that I would pivot off of.
Thomas, is Ricky still projected to be the highest owned? I think that he will be. You are on the fence. He'll be like top 3 at worst.
Yeah, I think so. I think around 18, 20%.
Sorry, late to the show. This is from LP. If it's already been discussed, thoughts on Grace? We're both not using him, I believe is the verdict on that. We just like the other guys in that range better. Thomas, I feel like the play/not play on him is the biggest decision of the week. I don't know who now we're talking about. Oh, Ricky. I'm not playing him. You are playing Ricky?
I'm playing Ricky, but if Rom is right there too, so I might shift some ownership to Rom.
If Tiger is too highly owned, what is the best pivot play off of him? It's probably to Day or Hideki, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not using Day or Hideki. I'm using Tiger and Casey.
Yeah, Hideki for me, but I want to use Tiger here. I think he sets up nicely, so I'll be using Tiger, but if I had to pivot, it'd be Hideki for me.
Boban, here we go. Great content this week. Thank you, Mr. Boban. Do you think some winning tickets will come from tickets with Euro players who aren't popular or well-known in North America, like Southgate, Dunn, or Olesen could be profitable? Olesen is the ultimate GPP play because he could theoretically, he could win this. The guy wins tournaments. He also can shoot like 85 on day 1 and sink you. Southgate, Fox are the two guys that I like. Willett, I like. Haotong, I like. So those are the ones that I'm kind of going with as of Euro Tour players. But I think that one of these, the best way to really get leverage is to identify some of these Euro players that you do like, that you just know that everyone's going to be on. Like someone mentioned Paul Dunn earlier. I'm not using him, but I understand why people would. Campillo, people can use him. People can use Sullivan like you. These guys just aren't going to be highly owned.
Yeah, and if you want to, if you're a little, like if you're cowards like us, and if you want to, then T5 them, right? Get the each way if that's out there. Because if you don't watch the Euro Tour, if they don't show it on TV, then you don't necessarily know, and you got to depend on the stats. And if you're only looking at stats, you're not necessarily seeing how these guys are playing, then yeah. But if you look at some of these guys like Southgate, like you mentioned, Fox, Campillo, these guys play Bjork, these guys play well. So for me, it's going to be Andy Sullivan. He's going to be my guy that on the Euro Tour that I like the most. But there are a ton of guys, if you watch this, if you rewind, that we can look at too.
Free Time brings up a really good point here about Chris Wood. Chris Wood might be the sneakiest of all the Euro guys.
Yeah.
He's someone who just hits fairways, has a good Open Championship track record, played really well as an amateur back in the day. So, I mean, Chris Wood could be one. I would prefer Chris Wood over Sullivan, over Campillo, over Dunn, over Lowry. I'd rather take Chris Wood in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're getting him, he's got the AM PM stack as well. So if you like that, and if you think that's going to be the stack to go to, and look, this back in the early 2000s, this guy had 2 top 5s. So he plays really well at the Open Championship. You're going to get him at sub 5% ownership, and he's got the right stack. So yeah, absolutely. And
he spiked in France like 3 weeks ago too, was in contention to win until the very, very end, and then he didn't win. Alex Noren won. Can Michael Kim make the cut? Why not?
Really think so?
Yeah, why not? Why can't Michael Kim?
Yeah, sure. I mean, he made like 8,000 birdies. I'd say I think he could. Any of these guys. I mean, the guy, if you make it into the Open Championship, you got talent, right? You got talent somewhere. You've done well somewhere. I don't think he'll make the cut, but I wouldn't mind if he does.
Jamie, thoughts on Tommy Fleetwood? I like Tommy. Fine enough. I don't think that he's significantly better than the players that are around him. And like Ricky, he's going to be a super high ownership player that I have no problem just moving off of him onto someone else. And even in the betting market, he's back down to 22 to 1. I still think that's too high. Like, realistically, I think Tommy's a great player, but is he really a better player than Paul Casey? They're probably about the same, and Casey's cheaper. Hideki. Like, Tommy's been in better form than Hideki, but Hideki, talent-wise, is probably on a similar level. He's exponentially cheaper. Jason Day is probably just a better player than Tommy Fleetwood, and he's cheaper. So that's why I'm not playing Fleetwood. I think he's fine. He has the course record from the Alfred Dunhill, which I'm not putting too much stock into because conditions are different, setup is different time of year. Yeah, it's worth noting. It's still the same course, but I hate fading Tommy because I love Tommy, but that's how it's going to be for me.
Well, Brooks too. Brooks is a couple $100 cheaper, and I mean, look, Brooks has won. He's played on the Euro Tour for quite some time, and he's coming with a ton of confidence. Taking a few weeks off after playing at I believe I forget the tournament that was right after the U.S. Open, but yeah, he's right there as well. So I'm also looking at fading Tommy. I did like him, but then that ownership obviously is going to spike. Has been spiking, and so I'm going to be fading Tommy as much as possible or trying to go there because there are other guys in that price range that I like.
Justin asked, thoughts on Xander Schauffele? Been zero chatter about him this week. Listen, if you want to pivot to someone who has no ownership in that like $7,500 range, the X-Man might be where you're looking, but I've had such a poor, every time I use him, he shoots like 90, and every time I don't use him, he comes like second. So it's really bizarre on X. I'm not doing it though.
Yeah, neither am I. I think he's a gamer. He pops at these bigger tournaments. Obviously, we've seen him win the Tour Championship. He did well at the U.S. Open, but he, like you said, he's so variant that I'm not going to be using him.
Glenn, is Zach Johnson a bargain at $7,200? Yes, he is. Michael Fitch, I'm not 100%, Stenson admitted. I have a bit of inflammation in the arm. It has been a bit weak. I played 18 in Sweden on Saturday and didn't feel that great when I woke up. I think Stenson's just downplaying expectations now because he came out today and said like he's feeling a lot better. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like coach talk and player talk in football, right? Like, I mean, yes, unless you're on the range and you're talking to this guy personally, you don't know, but we talked about it earlier. If you want to fade him because of the injury and you're too scared, you don't know which way it's going to go or sway, then fade the guy because there are other plays. I'm playing him. I'm not too worried about the chatter because I think he's going to play. So,
next question: what do you have for Leishman's ownership? I'm just looking at Leishman here. Leishman, we have at like 7-ish%. He might come in lower than that.
Yeah. Do you guys talk about him on the ownership show yesterday?
Yeah,
at around 8%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about Leishman. He kind of always goes in this right, sort of ownership at these majors. And he's a guy that always plays well, or has a modicum of, like you said, a success in these bigger tournaments. We've seen him play in windy conditions. He grew up in Australia. So you know that he can play at link style. So yeah, I'd say 8%, and that's a good pivot off of Stenson.
Craig asks, who's the pivot off Emiliano Grillo? Is it Henley and Moore? Those are two that I'm using. Southgate and Fox, and Charlie Hoffman are other ones as well.
Yep, same here.
Matt, that's about Xander. Dude, new to show Feinberg the other day crying about Kuchar was gold. Jeff has cried a lot on the show, like when Melvin Gordon sucked in his rookie year, he had a crying fit, Matt Kuchar crying. Jeff is an emotional guy. That's why the people love Jeff Feinberg, right? Oh, yeah. And you see him talk about Spieth. There's also the other spectrum of that where I think he was angry crying about Spieth his turn last year. Yeah, he's fantastic. Give it a watch. And give that cut show a watch. You guys are fantastic. It's highly entertaining. Let's try to rapid fire. There's like 3,000 questions in here. We're going to try to get to as many as possible. Boban had to get on Brooks in the end. 25-1 is unmissable. That's strong. Don't want that Thursday afternoon regret. That's also not a question. Great. Ted, here's an update on Stenson. Stenson just posted a video of himself hitting 350-yard drives on Instagram. Says he feels much better. So there you go. So no one knows for sure with Stenson. Either you're in or you're out. It's like Ocean's 11. You're in or you're out right now, and that's it.
Exactly.
Thoughts on Henley? Like Henley. Thoughts on Sergio? I'm off Sergio. What do you think?
Same.
Okay.
Like Henley, off Sergio. Yep.
Tiger or Day end up higher owned? I would think that Tiger ends up with more ownership.
Oh, yeah. Tiger, higher ownership.
Pat, can you send me all your lineups this week? Trying to win a fortune. Thanks in advance. That is from my main man, Rick Gaiman, who had this good exchange on Twitter last night. It was on the DK Pick Show with me, which you can still go back, still quite relevant, by the way. And I believe you and him had the same sleeper in Andy Sullivan.
I know. I was like, I don't want it to look like I'm copying Rick, but again, he comes out with great content, so give him a follow as well. But yeah, Andy Sullivan.
Yeah,
that's my boy.
On YouTube, the Rick Run Good YouTube channel, Rick's page is excellent. Very high quality stuff. A bit different style than what we're doing, so you can watch both of them and just take your best picks. Rick is a really good DFS player, makes some great videos, so give him a follow on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel. Any love for Eric Van Rooyen, first round leader? Well, if you had just looked at my first round leader list, then the answer would be yes. I do actually have some interest at 150-1. It's up on my Facebook page right now. All my bets for the week and all the first round leader lists, and EVR is on it. John Hacksaw Jim Duggins asked, do you think playing guys with later tee times could have good upside with so many players without a set-in-stone game plan time to watch coverage? Yeah.
I don't think the guys are sitting around potentially seeing how the other guys play. Maybe they'll take a glance at it, but you don't go the contrarian weather stack. I mean, maybe that could get you some.
I did it. I did the contrarian weather stack just to play both sides of the draw because I have no idea.
Both. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to go one way or the other and then depend on a guy to say, okay, wait, look, the weather is really good, so I'm going to change my strategy. No, these guys have multiple strategies for multiple outcomes, so play your game.
The Lupin Madman says thoughts on Fratelli. I'm off of him, and Reed is on him. Matt asks, seems like an equal narratives of toughest course, grinders needed, and wedge/birdie fest. Which do you side with? I'm going to let the elements dictate this and the fact that we don't know if they're going to come if you start getting swirling winds. I think that if the conditions are just right, perfect, then yeah, it could become a wedge fest with the baked out fairways. But if the wind starts picking up, you're going to want to have that in your back pocket. So I would lean towards the grinder type mentality, some low ball flight, good at scrambling, just in case, it is a wedge fest. And most of these guys are pretty good at hitting wedges anyway, even the shorter hitters, because of the baked out fairways can really get it going down there. But if they're also good scramblers, I would want sort of a mix of the two, but I would lean more towards grinder. What would you do?
Yeah, same here. I think you want the type of player like a Patrick Reed, that type of personality that can grind it out. Obviously we've seen him win this year at a major at Augusta, and you get kind of scared, right, of a John Rahm. If he hits it in the fescue, like we saw a few weeks ago, he could totally, play himself out of the tournament. His stats are there. I think leveraging his ownership is there, but I'd rather get the grinders like Patrick Reed.
Colin, do you think Griot is going to be too highly owned? Not if you love Griot, then you use Griot. For me, I'm indifferent towards him as compared to the other guys around him. Like I said, I have a 200-to-1 bet on him to win with the top 8 each way. That's enough for me, so I'll fade him. But I do think that he comes in at like 17% ownership.
Yeah, I'm eating that shock. I like Griot here.
Okay. Pat, be careful this weekend when you're mixing your dick pills and Jägermeister. That sounds like a perfect solution to a great Saturday night. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was gonna say you got to do a spot with both of those back to back to see which ones see how the show goes from there.
Carrie, any interest in Haotong, Fisher, or Jordan Smith? The only one that I've used of those 3 is Haotong.
Yeah, same here.
When it comes to the Millie Maker, balance or stars and scrubs, if you're playing one lineup, I'd probably do a stars and scrubs, but where I played 25, I have more stars and scrub than balance, but I made sure to make like 4 or 5 balance lineups because I do think that will end up being the contrarian build this week. That's a great way to use chalky guys in your lineup without having a similar build to other people.
Yeah, I'm going stars and scrubs as well. I have a ton of DJ, a ton of J Rose, and even Justin Thomas in that price range. So because I think there's value. I think pricing in that 7K, even the below 7K is nice. You know, we usually have to sift through the you know what to have some guys that we like. There's a lot of guys down there that we like. So stars and scrubs for me.
We're still taking questions here. I'm going to tweet it out once again. If you guys want to retweet that to get more people in the chat, that'd be great. If you're new to this, please give the episode a like and become a member at fantasynational.com right now for every tool you need. DraftKings, betting. You just want to play some head-to-heads on golf. There's a head-to-head matchup generator up there that shows you the history of these guys playing against each other and gives you actual betting lines on it for what the actual true line should be. It's a great feature of Fantasy National. But if you're trying to build a whole bunch of lineups very quickly, $8, please. The Millionaire Maker 20 to enter. You might as well spend the $8 and speed up the entire process because it looks like it's going to fill not soon, but soon-ish. So you want to get on that now, fantasynational.com. Next question. David, when it comes, I already answered that. Charles, thoughts on Rafa Cabrera-Bello this week? Usually love him, but the form sucks. Like I mentioned, I'm out. You're out too?
Yep, out.
I want to pick some AM-PM splits, but find my core is mainly PM-AM. Worth switching out players or just keep core as is? Listen, if you like that core, I'd say keep it as is. Here's some guys from the early that I have identified that you can use in lineups. Southgate, Willett, List, Hatton, C. Woo! Stuart Sink, Patrick Cantlay, Patrick Reed, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Paul Casey, Hideo Tanihara are all playing in the... I'm all fired up. I'm just running on fumes here now. They're all in the AM-PM stack if you wanted to pivot off to some of those guys. I'm using them, so no, those are names that I can throw out there for you.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one more J Rose. He's in that AM stack as well.
Charles Howell or Stuart Sink? Give me Stu Manji.
Yeah, Stuart Sink as well.
How do we feel about Sergio and Stenson? Full fade for me on both.
Fading Sergio. I'm going to be playing Stenson.
Do you remember the last time Phil was sub 10% with the fairways being so burnt? He's going to get down the fairways and he has a short game. Amazing open history. Doesn't hurt either. I don't remember the last time he was under 5%. Listen, if you want to use Phil, use Phil.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to be owning him, so yeah, use Phil. But to figure out the splits when he was sub 10 with dry fairways, that's going to be tough. Use Phil.
Official, let's see, here we go. Adam says, or sorry, there's no competition, says Fratelli, hot fire, Dylon Fratelli dominates across the pond. I think dominate may be a bit of a stretch. Let's see, T23, T14, T12 in his past 3 starts on the Rolex series, which are fantastic results. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open, T30 at the Italian Open, missed the cut at the BMW PGA Championship on the European Tour. Yeah, he's basically Tiger Woods from 2000. Thanks, though. Kelly Craft, 8th in strokes gained total and 2nd in strokes gained approach over the past 12 windy AF rounds. Tempting? Not for me. You?
No way. No Kelly Craft for me as well.
Kelly Crap, more like it. If the course stays dry this week, how penal does the fescue become? And all that favors the Bombers over accuracy players. I honestly don't know. And if anyone tells you they do, unless you're talking to a player, I think they're lying to you.
Yeah, some of the guys early in their pressers said that the rough wasn't as thick as they first anticipated, but it's still going to be thick. This is an Open Championship, so I wouldn't, play too much into that. But take it for what it is. These guys are saying it's not too thick. It's not as penal as they thought it was. I still think you need to hit in the fairway.
Wow, I mean, what if all of a sudden that the RNA is like, man, the rough isn't thick enough. We need to get them some Roman Med ED pills, and then boom, thick AF. There we go.
overnight.
And there looks like there's going to be rain on Friday as well, especially in the morning. So if it does rain, all that fescue starts trust me, I'm from the coast in Canada. I'm from New Scotland. When the courses that I play are links courses, and it's fine. You can hit it out of the fescue when it's really dry. When it starts getting a little bit wet, your ball gets stuck under that fescue, and you're going to have problems getting it out. So it all depends on the conditions. I would still want the guys that hit the fairway, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do with first-timers like Liston Cantley? Does it matter in their debut? I'm not sweating it too much. I think it could play a bit of a factor, but if these guys are ball striking like they can ball strike, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think maybe at Augusta for sure, right? First-time players you want to potentially fade. But look, Justin Rose back in 98 or 97 when he was in AM came top 5, right? So it's not too bad. Not the same layout, but still, I think the Open Championship does lend itself to first-timers doing decently.
And also, like, it's a lot of people's first time playing Carnoustie, too. Like, not a lot of people played in 2007.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people play in the Alfred Dunhill Link. So a lot of the American players, well, they played in Open Championships past, have never played this course before. So, I mean, they're technically debutants at this course as well.
Yeah.
How much Molinari will you be using? 0% for me. What was it for you?
0%.
Is Webb a pivot off of Finau and ZJ? I haven't projected as the next highest after those guys, but you can save yourself some ownership, and I don't think that you're really losing much in terms of skill. So, yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah, same here. I think he's going to be about half, maybe a little bit more decreased ownership over Finau.
Thoughts on Andy Sullivan? We went over that. On out, Reid is in. Grace Poulter or Casey Zach Johnson? I would use Casey Zach Johnson in a GPP.
Yeah, same.
Any exposure to Kim after last week's big win? No, I'll be using Kim instead, like I did last week instead of using Michael Kim.
Could there be an all Kim lineup? Is we Kim in this field?
No, I mean, no, he's not. I mean, at some point of the year, you probably can use an all Kim's lineup, though.
Yeah, no Kim for me though.
Ben on? Question mark? I'm not using him. Are you?
No, I looked into him, but not for me.
Will Ricky be the highest owned of the 9K guys? Yes, and he might be the highest owned guy overall. Do we have any idea of Hoffman's ownership? I really like Hoffman. I got on him later in the week. I like that he played the Scottish Open. What do I have on him right now? He'll be sub 10. Charlie always carries a bit more ownership in terms of the Millionaire Maker because he performs so well at majors. But with ZJ, Webb, Tony Finau, and Griot right below it, he's going to be like next after them, but he will not be 10%. At least I don't think so. I would project somewhere between 5 and 7% for him. Yeah,
I was going to say high. The highest, right, is probably 8. I think he's going to come around 5%. It would be my prediction.
When making 20 lineups, how many players do you normally pick from? I try to keep it to like 18 to 22.
Yep, same here, around 20.
Off topic, what's the difference between fairways gained and off the tee percentage? I don't know what off the tee percentage is, so that's tough. Strokes gained off the tee is a metric which both puts into consideration how you do off the tee, because some courses it's not that penal to hit it into the rough, something like the Sony Open. So strokes gained off the tee factors in both accuracy and distance as it pertains to how you set yourself up for the second shot in the range that you want to be in for that. Fairways gained is just the percentage of fairways that you hit in any sort of round versus the field. That's why I think that it's a better metric than driving accuracy as a whole. Because some courses you go to, like we saw at the Greenbrier, guys hit like 72% of fairways. Some courses, they like Quicken Loans, they only hit like 51%. So if you hit more fairways at the Quicken Loans, it's worth more than just everyone hitting them at the Greenbrier. That is the difference between both driving accuracy, fairways gained, and strokes gained off the tee as it pertains to fairways gained as well. Why is no one talking about Duffner? Good open history, because Duffner's a piece of shit who cost me $2,000 at the Masters. Fuck him.
I mean, outside of that, yeah, that's pretty horrible. I like Duffner. I like Duffner in that 7K. He didn't burn me for $2,000, so I will be playing some Duffner in that 7K if I want to, or below 7K if I want to pivot off of some of those guys. But yeah, if he burned me for that much, I'd say screw him too.
All right, give a retweet out to the chat because we're still going. Give a like to the show, too, to help keep this free. And remember, fantasynational.com. Now's the time to get in. You got the rest of the afternoon to kill. You're at work? Screw work. Go on fantasynational.com. Way better. It's $8. Where am I at here? What do you think Henley's ownership ends up being at? Too chalky? I don't think he's going to be too chalky because Griot will take it. I'd say max 10%, but I think he's far more popular among people like watching this show every single week rather than the general public.
Yeah, the Fantasy National, the lineup generator has him around 13%. I think that's a little high. I think he comes around 10%.
Well, I mean, if people are using Fantasy National and looking at the ownership, sometimes they can be skewed off because a lot of people who are members of Fantasy National are people that watch this show, and some people tail along with like what I do or completely fade what I do sometimes. But it's a different mindset. I mean, on a week-to-week basis, I think the ownership projections are much better for a millionaire maker, where you're factoring in so many like new players and unknown players who they probably don't even have an idea how to play, like the strategy behind DraftKings Golf, but they're putting in $20 because it's a major and they want to have some investment in it for the 4 days, which is awesome. But it really can throw ownership at a whack based on who the regulars are playing versus who this high percentage of the public is playing. And I think that Henley is just going to be a player where the regulars playing DraftKings Golf week to week will be using him. But I mean, most of the country doesn't have a fucking clue who Russell Henley is.
Exactly. Yeah, 10% is probably a good estimation on where he's going to be. I mean, he popped right at the U.S. Open. We saw him a little bit. So, yeah, but you're right. No, a lot of people don't know who Henley is.
Any love for Charlie Hoffman? Yes. And I bit the bullet on his first round leader odds. I generally don't touch anyone below 90 to 1. And just because it's a major, they bump up Charlie's odds by like 40 points. But I did bet him at 66 to 1 with a top 5 each way to be first round leader because it's Charlie. Everyone loves Charlie.
Yeah.
Pat,
that's a good play.
Pat, love the content. Would you make 3 Millie Maker lineups and enter the same lineup in other contests, such as the 3-5 max, or have different lineups in all of them? I'd probably make different lineups for all of them, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking one, maybe in the single entry, I would think if I had a really good lineup that I liked in the 20 max, that I might use that in the single entry. But yeah, I like to diversify as well.
Day or Reid, better finish? Jason Day for me. Oh, no, sorry, Patrick Reid for me. I bet Patrick Reid.
I was going to say, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be Reid for me as well.
I just looked at you and I thought Jason Day because you guys look exactly the same.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No,
you're in better shape than Jason Day is. He's a bit milk baggy these days.
Like right here too. He's got a lot of cheeks.
He gets it like I get it when I get bigger, right in the face. Although I don't wear a bulletproof vest to keep it all in like he does.
Exactly.
Can Bubba's creativity be seen as a plus here, or too much risk if things go bad? Bubba plus Britain equals bad. That's the logic that I'm using.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to get a little too cute there. I looked into Bubba as well. Of the cuts that he's made, he finishes top 30, but he doesn't like it. He's come out and he said he doesn't like the culture here over in Europe, so that's a fade for me.
Jamie, Rose or Finau or Poulter Fowler for cash? I'd go Rose and Finau.
Oh, yeah, Rose and Finau for cash.
Are you using any Keegan Bradley? The answer is no for me. Another 1.7.2 guy. Any ideas on Thorborn Olesen? Won the Alfred Dunhill. We talked about Olesen. If you want to use him, he is a decent GPP play because of the high risk, but that risk is just too much for me. I like other guys in that range better.
Yeah, same here.
Thoughts on putting $10 on Siwoo? I put a little bit more than that on Siwoo at 300 to 1. See, woo! We're going to be rich when he wins. It's going to be fantastic. Oh, it jumped on me in the chat. Where are we at here? Oh my God, there are so many questions. Oh my God. Gavin Green questions. Any love for David Duval? Thoughts on how top? I mean, there's like 300 questions we're not at here. So we might have to give like one-word answers to a lot of these. Here we are.
Let's do it.
Hatton or Poulter? Poulter.
Hatton.
Thoughts on late tee times given the lack of game plan? I don't understand what that means.
Nope.
Lahiri or fading him because of the draw? I'm just fading Lahiri because he's Lahiri.
Yeah, fade Lahiri.
Tiger top 5? Not even a question mark. Why not? Any love for the Haas? No from me, no from you, right?
Nope.
Seems to be only one liking. The Gup loves Bubba this week. Last 2 years fared okay at the Open. Form is much better now. No love at all. No love for me. As the designated Bubba whisperer, I am off of him.
Yeah, I'm going to trail you in that.
How you feeling about Burgoon? I'm off. You?
Nope, no goon.
Okay. Thoughts on Bubba? That's just late to the party. Any word on the weather? The tee time advantage? Early tee time, early AM looks like the slight advantage, but I'm not necessarily buying that in the slightest. I'm just playing both ends of the stack. It's the last time that we'll talk about the weather on this show.
Yeah, no more weather.
JT versus Tiger and cash. I mean, Tiger, he's over $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah.
What do you guys have for Reid's projected ownership? I have him at 15%. That could be high, though.
Yeah, I think I have him around 16%. I do think in that price range you're getting some win equity, so I think that's right, around 15 to 18.
Stenson injury concerning. I mean, I'm just not using Stenson. You are using Stenson, so you're either in or you're out. It seems like he's going to be okay. That's what he said today. 2 days ago, he said he was awful, so it's all fake news. Andrew Landry, a bootlegged Adam Hadwin. First round leader, 175 to 1. I'm not taking it. Would you?
No.
Is Lee Westwood or Webb Simpson a better pivot off of ZJ or Finau? I would take Webb Simpson.
Same here, Webb for me.
The chat likes Westwood for what it's worth. Day and Grace or Hideki and Hatton? I would go Hideki and Hatton.
Yep, H-team.
Why do I like Harman? Question mark. I mean, I feel like if you're asking yourself a question, you're better off answering that and keep it out of the fucking chat. Is 50% share with my 12 lineups on Leishman crazy? Listen, if you like him, I think that's a perfect amount to have him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's going to come at 8%, so you're going to be double in the field, I think. So, yeah, I mean, if you like him, he's a good pivot.
Kevin says, I made a lineup with almost all chalk, but I left 500 on the table. Chances I still have a unique lineup. Very high. I think Rick from the Rick Run Good YouTube channel, Rick Gaiman, put this out that I think that his numbers ran that 300 or less, so leaving 300, 200, 100 or no money on the table at the U.S. Open accounted for like 96% of lineups. So if you just leave 500, you're just the shots of a dupe are way lower.
Yeah, exactly. Another reason why to follow Rick Rungood, I mean, that's a great stat. You like to be contrarian with that price. If you're leaving 1,000, I think that's a little too contrarian. But 500, that's a good number. For me, it's about 200 that I'm leaving at the most. So,
Jamie, Reid safe in cash? I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Griot or Finau? I'm fade on both. But if it was a bet, I would bet Griot because I did bet Griot.
Finau for me, but I'm playing both, so.
What happened to Cam? He's hilarious. Cam hosts a show every day from 4 to 7 if you're looking for Cam. That's why he's not on this show. He has his own show. Does rostering 5 guys in the 8K range in a single lineup make any sense? Yeah, listen, if you like those guys. I mean, the guys in the 8K range are all good, so and very few people are using that strategy. So, yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I like it too.
Are you worried about slow greens for Tiger? I mean, it doesn't help, but the RNA has already talked about making them faster, so we'll see. I wouldn't go into that too much. No. For us rookies, what's the difference between a cash game and tournaments? Cash game is you're looking at a triple up, a 50-50, or a double up where like half the field wins a GPP. In a tournament's very top heavy. You want to be riskier in a GPP. You want to be safer in a cash game. I think that's the easiest way I could describe it.
Yep. Pretty good.
Is one sub 10% owned player enough for the Millie Maker, or should you have 2? I mean, a guy just won with one sub 10% guy. Now, he did split the winnings with someone because it got duplicated. But, yeah, 2 guys, 1 guy, that's probably enough, right?
Yeah, you don't want to get extreme. You don't want to fade all of the chalk, right? You want to have some. So I think 1 or 2 is fine, just because these guys are chalk for a reason. They're good players, so don't fade all of it. Will
Cantlay be able to find his way out of the bunkers? If he's finding the bunkers, then it's probably not a good week for Patrick Cantlay. So just hope he avoids them.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think most guys, you're going to find bunkers, right? These guys are going to find the pop bunkers. Cantlay is a nice play. It scares you, right? If he has to do sand, if he has to save himself and get up and down out of the bunker. But I like Cantlay, so I'm not gonna be too worried about that.
Yeah, and some of these lies in the pop bunkers are just unplayable. So you have to eat your medicine and take it out. That actually kind of mitigates how bad Cantlay can be out of bunkers.
Exactly.
Do you worry that this is Russell Knox's 6th straight week playing? I'm not using Knox, but that doesn't really worry me.
Yeah, doesn't worry me either. I like Knox. I like where his current form is, and his pricing a little high, but I think it's because he just won recently and he's playing better. So I do like Knox.
Any Affy Barnrat love from Ben? He was one of my last cuts, but I can get behind it. I'm not using him. I had to trim the player pool down.
I try to fit the Barnrat in just because I like him as a player, but he hasn't made the cut once at the Open, I think, in the last 5 years. So he was like he was one of my last cuts as well.
Anyone playing Sergio? I'm sure someone will play Sergio in the Millionaire Maker. I guarantee it, in fact.
Yeah, not us.
Not us, though. I'm in a pool with 3 group picks. Pick one. No, I don't answer these questions. Just make your own fucking picks. I release like a list of people that I'm playing. Just pick from that. How worried are you? Another Stenson question. What about Patton Kazire? Nope.
Ugh, no way.
33 Dogleg has 80 spots left, so yeah, if you want to get in that now, go for it. Pat buys T-shirts at Baby Gap, size extra medium. I actually wear small as it comes to T-shirts, so that's how it goes. That's what fits me.
They're not selling V-necks at Baby Gap, by the way. Like,
they should be.
That's kind of weird.
They
should be, yeah.
Stylish baby V's. ZJ this year's Cooch. He could be, but I'm not going to find out that way. I ate the chalk on Kuchar last year. I'm not eating the chalk on ZJ this year.
No, same here.
We've already answered that. Can you fade Francesco Molinari? I am fading Francesco Molinari, so are you. Because he missed the cut at the British Open in 2007. I wouldn't really worry too much about that. So did Phil, so did Stenson. And it was also 11 years ago. Molinari, bit better player nowadays. Is Justin Thomas the ultimate one-and-done contrarian pick this week? I think it's him or Rory, like I mentioned, that no one is using, that has that sort of upside that can really separate you if you need to catch up in one and done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to go contrarian, if you haven't used him, no one's probably going to use is Spieth, but I wouldn't use Spieth. I'd rather go, most times out of 100, JT or Rory.
Usti ownership projections. I like the scrambling ability and that we are in Europe. Your thoughts? Louis, I got at 6%.
Yeah, I think the same. Their current form is not there, right? And that pricing is a little high for him, I think. So I think you find him at sub 10%.
Is Jason Day a good play? I think he's fine. I like other guys around him more.
Yep, value is there, but other guys as well. Any
love for David Duval? DK ownership? No, and I will have him projected at 0.1%, if that.
Yes, I mean, I like him as a commentator, but I mean, I think Chambly is maybe a little bit better than Duval. Not for me. No way.
Zach, Snedeker, Sullivan, or Webb? Snedeker for me.
Sullivan for me.
Okay. Thoughts on Julian Siri, a.k.a. Baby Brooks? I'm not using Siri.
Baby Brooks.
He is like Baby Brooks.
Yeah, I think he's popped. He's been playing decently over the year tour. He's got a couple of good finishes of recent, but I'm not playing him. I think long form. I'd rather have some guys in that price range over him.
Pick two: Hoffman, Griot, Bjelk, or Ryan Fox. I'm only using two of them, so those are the two that I will give you: Ryan Fox and Charlie Hoffman.
Yeah, I'll go Hoffman and Griot.
Okay. Thoughts on Jorge Campillo? I was on him initially after he made the triple in the final round of the Scottish Open last week and just ruined my day. I'm off of him now. I'm using all the spots that I had for him. I switched on to Haotong.
Yeah, not using Jorge.
Phil could win. He could also hit the window at the clubhouse. Wow, thanks for your contributions. You're helping. Do you take any stock in the younger pros practicing with the stars? No. Do you think Sergio switching caddies this week is good for bad for him? I don't think it really matters, to be perfectly honest with you.
No.
Should I do a weather stack? We're done talking about the weather. We mentioned like 5,000 times on the chat. Gavin Green with Rose from the above. I'm not playing Gavin Green. Are you playing Gavin Green?
No way.
All right.
Gavin Green for me.
Thoughts on using a bomber lineup using players that will try to drive by the bunkers, and who would you make that list with other than Rahm, Koepka, and DJ? I would add Ryan Fox to that list, Finau to that list. Who else? Yeah, Luke List to the list. Cantlay can really get it out there as well. Xander is someone to look at from that perspective. Yep. Who in the $6,000 range would meet that criteria? Surrey actually would be someone to consider for that. Fratelli is someone you could consider for that. Vegas is someone you could consider. I'm not using that sort of lineup, but those are the sort of pieces that I would add if you're going a full bomber stack, right?
Yeah, and I would check Vegas. I saw some reports that his passport, there were some issues with his passport. His clubs were not potentially there. So I would just check on some early reports with Vegas because I know that he was having some trouble outside of golf to show up at the Open. So just make sure that he's playing if you have him in your lineup.
Pat, what's Charles Howell's ownership going to be like? Do you think he could be a suitable pivot off of Griot? I'd rather just use Griot, even at the high ownership. I think Howell could probably breach 10%.
Yeah, I agree. But I'd rather use Griot.
What do you think of Yad Kasko Mitzoda, Euro player, sleeper, or avoid? Is he even a Euro player? Is he a Japanese tour player? I'm not using him. So. We're really reaching here. Like, there should be just names on this list you just don't play. Maybe they play well, but if anyone can actually predict like these random people who no one knows anything about play well, then good on you. But like, just cross them off the list.
Yeah, you should do that anyway. Any tournament, cross like 50 guys off the list that you're not going to play. I mean, yeah, maybe they might find something, but not for me.
Guest on yesterday's show mentioned one of the key stats for the tournament is bogey avoidance. Could this backfire because you also mentioned that you must take bogey on some holes? I mean, if you get yourself into problems, sure, maybe you want to use double bogeys avoided. Bogey avoidance is tough, and you want to use bogey avoidance gained as well. It's like fairways gained. And even if you go on Fantasy National and just use hard courses and separate by those, like use the U.S. Open, use Quicken Loans, use Riviera, Honda, like those types of places for your bogey avoidance gained, only because, yeah, I mean, you're going to gain, like if it's a place where it's easy to scramble, you're not going to make a lot of bogeys, and your bogey avoidance will look a whole lot better. So if you isolate by hard courses and bogey avoidance gained, where it's just against the field, I think that might give you a better perspective of what you're trying to look for, and you can find all those numbers and be able to separate the courses on fantasynational.com if you become a member right now. Next one. I know you're not on Hideki at 50-1, so my question is, what number would you automatically bite the bullet at for a player of that caliber? Well, Phil's down at 70, and if I'm not taking that, I won't take Hideki at 50. My card's full, and I'm not one of those people that will just jump in because, I guess, yeah, if Hideki got to like 100-1, I would probably bet him. I had zero plans on playing Patrick Cantlay this week until I opened up Bodog, and it was like 200-1. I was like, sure, let's do it. But yeah, if it's a guy that I don't think is going to win, I'm not going to bet him unless the odds hit the triple digits.
Yeah, and then also you want to see who the guys are around him as well. But Hideki, if you want to throw out a number, maybe like you said, 75. You want to get him. You're playing Hoffman potentially at 66-1 first round leader. So again, there are a bunch of things that you want to see and some ancillary information. But Hideki, yeah, I'm not betting him. But where I feel comfortable, I mean, 75-1 probably.
Zach Johnson or Keegan Bradley? I'd go Zach Johnson.
Oh, yeah, Zach Johnson.
Snedeker, Nah, or both? Snedeker for me.
Yeah, Sneds.
Thanks, guys, for the content. Of the 156 players in the field, how many would you say have a chance of winning, and how many have a realistic chance of winning? No chance of winning. How many have a realistic chance? Probably like 50 have like a legitimate chance of winning. I do think of all the majors, this one is the most susceptible to a bad player winning, though.
Yeah, because we always see, right, that like you were talking about earlier, we see an amateur who plays well, we see an old guy who plays well, and you have your elite, your top 25 elite that could win at any place. So, like you said, this is one tournament that we have a much more diversified win equity or win group. But yeah, those numbers are good.
Chris, no DJ, no Finau, no Grillo. Planting a flag this week, only a 15-player pool. Crazy or fuck it? Listen, I would play DJ because I think he's going to win of that group, but I'm fading Finau and I'm fading Grillo too because I'm doing the same thing. I'm planting my flag. You either want to be extremely right or you want to be extremely wrong. This is the way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing all three of those guys, so I'm, on the other side of that. But yeah, if you want to, it's the same as that question that person mentioned, playing guys in the 8K range. You're planting your flag and you're not using any of those top range guys, so that's fine.
Favorite proximity range? I don't actually have one this week.
I mean, I just use it as an ancillary, but 175 to 200, right, because of the length of the course. But these conditions are dried out.
Yeah,
so
well, that would be the thing. If the fairways are as baked out as people say, and you're getting all this extra roll, then like 100 to 150, like those two ranges would probably be the best things to look at.
Right, exactly. So I don't use it. I just want to see it as an ancillary stat, but I don't really use it.
What kind of player should succeed this week? Strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained apex height important, do you think? No, not really. Off the tee mixed with fairways gained is what I would look at. Yeah, and then approach just to get a closer look at like, the tee to green stuff would be my only addition to that. Oh, we got 2 Ryan Armour questions. Finally! Oh. What kind of man eats Armour hot dogs? Thoughts on Armour? Sorry if this is a repeat, and I see that Gup had Armour ahead of Sink, but I have some Sink and no Armour. Was tempted for sure, stats line up. I have them both. So I like Ryan Armour. I'm using him in lineups. He looks like Mr. Clean's creepy older brother. That always goes a long way for me. But he's like, the way I described Armour is that he's the poor man Zach Johnson. He hits fairways. He's good with wedges. He's not as good of a putter or scrambler as DJ, but he's fine. He's playing well. He scores on par 4s, and he's like $6,500. I also bet him at 1,000 to 1 to win. Holy cow. Yeah, I looked at Ryan Moore, and obviously his stats are popping in the last 24 rounds because he's done well. I'd rather go to Austin Cook, and the reason why is I think
right at that range. Those two guys aren't the same player. Armour is playing better, but Cook has an AM/PM stack. And so that was a tiebreaker for me. But yeah, I wouldn't mind playing Armour. It's just for me, he's not going to make my card.
Oh, Gavin Green played a practice round with Justin Rose. Do you like him now? No. Fuck off, Gavin Green.
No Gavin Green for me.
Anybody like Matthew Southgate? I'm in on him. You said you're in on him too, right?
That sounds like a name of a sports book. No, I'm not. I'm out on Southgate. I do like him, but I don't have him.
Weather waves. Let's see. 3 missed cuts in a row for RCB. We've already answered RCB. Thoughts on Brian Herman? Already did that. Thoughts on Snedeker. Thoughts on Webb. No Molinari. Did you miss? Did you talk weather yet? I missed it. It's the first thing we talked about at the beginning of the show. If you want to catch it on demand after the fact. Oh man, these are all now just repeat questions. Craig says, "Hi Pat, help a fellow blue noser out. I can do that for you. What's the projected ownership on Justin Rose? I have him at 23% ownership."
Yeah, I think he's going to reach 25%. I think he's, along with Ricky and some other guys like you're mentioning, I think Ricky's going to be probably the 3rd to 5th highest owned, but I think Rose is up there.
This guy says Molinari might be the highest owned at 25 to 30%. I highly doubt that.
No, not where he's priced. No way.
Pick one: Berger, Woodland, Duffner, or Scott. I'll take Berger.
Ooh, I think Duffner for me.
I'm playing some Daniel Berger, by the way.
Yeah, so he's a nice pivot in that range. So I think anyone's playing him.
Now that you've turned Stuart Sink into chalk, are you still playing him? I actually thought about this morning, and Noren was the same way. I actually just do like them both, so I'm going to continue to use them. And I don't know if Stuart Sink ends up as chalky. Like, on Fantasy National, I believe he is projected for 9.8%. I don't think that he gets up that highly.
Like you said, you got to take those with a grain of salt because we're touting a guy like Sink. You've been touting him for quite some time, so I do think you give him a bump, but at 5% Sink, I think is reasonable, 5 to 8%.
Chris always likes the show when I start getting fired up because I'm too tired. I haven't run out of coffee yet. Maybe I'll need to add a shot of Jäger to my coffee. Here we go. Thoughts on Bryson? We covered that at the beginning. And of all the injured guys, he'd be my favorite to play, but I'm avoiding all the injured guys. What kind of putter is Adam Scott using this week? It looks like he's using the small putter, not the cheater putter. At least from the picture that I saw yesterday. Now, I don't know if he's just trying that out. We're not going to know until he gets on the course. He doesn't need to tell us. But it says, would you go Scott or Ian Poulter? I would go Ian Poulter.
Yeah, same here, Poulter.
How much higher owned do you believe Ricky Fowler will be than Rory McIlroy? I would say at least 4 times.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe 3. Maybe at least 3 times, because there's a weird scenario where it could be like 8 and 24%. Those are my... 3 times is likely.
Yeah, like the 7, right? I think you think maybe Rory comes in at 7%, but I honestly think a lot of people aren't playing Rory because they want to play DJ. So I would take that. I would think 3.5 times, yeah.
Chris asked, what are the best filters to use on FantasyNational.com? Friend, that is up to you to use. I'm not here to make your picks for you. Charles Schwartzel, a great pivot play? I don't think so. Do you?
No way.
Is Scott popping for you too? I hate that he's through the roof on mine. Yeah, he did for me. I did use minimal shares of Adam Scott because I'm a sucker, but that's me.
Yeah, I got some shares as well. I mean, you can't. It's playing Scott at the Open Championship. Got to do it. So, going to be a little less optimistic just because of his current form. But yeah, I'm playing him.
Hideki, Bubba, and Brooks will play in bad weather conditions on Thursday. I don't think that there actually are any bad conditions on Thursday. Are there?
No, I didn't see any on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday seems fine. It seems to be Friday morning where guys might get hit. Let me look at the super forecast very quickly. I put it into the chat already if people are looking for it. Or just go to windfinder.com and put in Carnoustie, and you can find it up there. Highest wind gust, the highest wind gust of the day is at 6 p.m. Local time at Carnoustie, and that's only going to be 16 miles per hour. Like, I'm not, if 16 is the highest it could potentially get, which we don't know because it's weather, but if that's the highest they're projecting right now, I'm not sweating 16 miles per hour as the highest gust.
Right, exactly. Sustained winds is looking like around 10 on Thursday, now 10 to 12.
Now, the next morning where it's like, hey, we got some like 26 mile per hour gusts and some rain, it's raining sideways. That could get tricky. That would be the trickier part for me.
Yeah, exactly. Friday is the more inclement weather.
$6,900 or less for a single entry. Favorite play, I'd say Ryan Moore.
Russell Henley for me.
Late to the party, any thoughts on Hadwin? Any thoughts on Cameron Smith? I got 0% exposure to both.
Me too.
Okay. I have a feeling some dudes are going to be watching other... Oh, my God.
The Barbasol? Is that question's going?
No, it's just like they're going to be watching guys do other things and then get screwed up because the weather will be different. Like, if you're going to that level of analysis, I feel like you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Zach Johnson was the top player in my fantasy model. Good play? Yeah, he's going to be a good play. Just understand that everyone else thinks he's a good play too.
Yeah.
I always promise myself I won't play Adam Scott again, but then I run the numbers Monday and still intent on fading him. Long story short, I am mainlining with the broomstick wielding dragon by the end of Wednesday, and I'm doing the same thing. Poulter and Cash? Yes. Do you like Thomas Pieters at all? I do not.
No. Pieters for me.
I actually bet Nicolas Colser to be top Belgian over Thomas Pieters at plus 125. Wow. Head-to-head, even money tournament matchup, Koepka versus Tiger. I love Brooks there. Think any thoughts? I like Tiger a lot this week, but unless you're convinced Tiger is going to play poorly, taking the other side of Tiger head-to-head bets is always the smart move because the books are juicing up Tiger because people love to bet on Tiger. That's just the way
exactly. Yeah. Brooks for me in that situation.
Pat, is the no Sergio love based entirely on past performance here? I mean, he came second the last time they played here, so that wouldn't be the case. No, I don't like the way that he's striking the ball. And I don't like since the middle of March, since that Florida swing, Sergio's been bad. And he's been better. He was better at the French. That's fine, but that's one tournament. Maybe he's got it back together, but I just don't like where the stats are coming in. The ball striking is still fine, but the short game has been abysmal. The putting has been really bad. And he's when Sergio's running at his best, he's both striking it straight and long off the tee. And those off the tee numbers, 35th in this field over the past 24 rounds, that's not where Sergio should be. Sergio should be top 10. That means he's lagging.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting him right at sub 10% because of the guys around him, but he's missed 5 cuts, and the cut that he made on the PGA Tour, I think he came in 70th. So, I mean, the form is not there. He's not playing well. The only reason why you're playing him, he did play well in 2007, and he's got that sub 10% ownership, but not for me.
Two-parter. Who are you fading the most that you're afraid is going to burn you? Who is the chalkiest player you're still going to play? Dustin and Norn are probably the two chalkiest players I'll still play. I mean, I'm not playing Ricky and I'm not playing Rose. Those two have the best potential just to come back and just absolutely burn me because they're both two good players. Zach and Finau and Griot from the bottom end are the chalky guys that I'm not playing that if one of those guys hits and my pivot guys don't hit, I'm done. So those guys scare me as well.
Yeah. I think Fleetwood I was on early in the week, but I think that ownership is going to be too high, so I'm going to be fading him. But he could easily win this. So that's the one guy that I'm scared that I'm fading that would do well.
Thoughts on Hao Tong and his ownership? Hao Tong's in the good draw, right?
I believe so.
Let's see. No, he's in the late draw. He's in the PM/AM draw with DJ.
Oh,
so the
okay.
draw is not great. I still am using him. I do like him, but I'm using him as a part of that PM/AM stack that I played. I like him on links courses. I like him at majors. He's played really well at the majors over the course of his career. Obviously, he was top 5 at this tournament last year. He played well in Scotland last week. I like Hao Tong. And he's going to be he'll be 2%.
Yeah, and Snedeker, Berger, these other guys around Hao Tong are in the AM draw. So if you want to use that AM PM stack, then there are guys that you can pivot off of. But yeah, Hao Tong is a good play here.
Any love for Ryan Fox? Yes, I have love for Ryan Fox. Rory declared to the BBC he is hitting driver everywhere he can. Good enough reason to completely fade or just scary? Well, the best club in his bag is driver, so I would want him hitting it as much as possible.
Yeah, there are some guys. I mean, if Tiger was saying that, then yeah, you'd be a little scared. But Rory, that's his favorite club, so I'm not too worried. Some other guys like Dustin, if Dustin's using and Brooks are using it, you like that because they can hit the driver. I'd rather them just keep it in the fairway because they have the distance with the 3-wood. But if they can, then they should.
Well, and too, I'd be much more concerned if Rory was like, I'm playing putter on every shot. You're like, oh, good God.
It didn't cup it. No way.
Either I'm going to bed early or you can wake up to watch more coverage. I'll stay up to at least watch the first part of it. I believe it's on Live Golf Channel at 1:30, although I feel like that's the case every year, and then I forget about it, and then it's not really on until 3:30, and I'm there watching weird open. I'm streaming the Open app, and I just fall asleep by 4 a.m. and then I'm just fucked for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I'll probably catch a few Z's. But this is the best part about the Open Championship is because you can essentially stay up. So I enjoy it.
Na or Griot and Cash? I'd actually play Griot and Cash.
Yeah, Griot for me.
Any love for Berger and the Millionaire Maker? Yes, for me.
Yep.
If you make 20 lineups, would you decide to go balanced or stars and scrubs? I'd probably have a 15 stars and scrubs, 5 balanced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's good.
Brooks and Cash? He's pooping on Fantasy National. Why is he pooping on it? That's not good. And yeah, listen, I'm not playing Brooks, but he makes a lot of sense. Listen, he's another one of those guys that I'm fading that terrifies me.
Yeah, I'm playing him. So yeah, I think he's a good play for both game formats.
If 70 lineups, how many of the top price players do you pick? 3 or 4? 70 lineups? You have more leeway to spread it out. Like where I played 25, and the only guys above 9K that I used were Rory, Dustin, and Rahm. So I used 3 for 25 lineups. You could probably expand that to 6 if you wanted to. But I do think the more you can concentrate it, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, same here. I used JT, Rose, and DJ. So for me, it's 3. Like I said, I stick within that 20 to 25 in terms of how many lineups. But yeah, I mean, and Leone mentions it too, right? If you play these 150 lineups, you have the ability to diversify your player pool. But if they're going less, and obviously you want that to be smaller.
Do you think people are putting too much into these younger Euros? I'm bringing in strength of field with those guys. Most played in Euro events, not nearly as many top players in it. Yeah, potentially. But I do like these guys have been playing on links for a little bit. And I just don't think that their ownership is going to be all that high. I'm not just going out of my way just to use Euro guys, but like Southgate and Fox are the two that I'm really gravitating towards.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like we talked about earlier, this is the one tournament that you can use these guys at you wouldn't use at Augusta. You wouldn't use, at the US Open too much because of their experience of the same dynamics, right? The weather, the links course, the ability to strategize around these. So it's a little more familiar to them. So they're not coming into this totally cold turkey. Now it is a major, so they will be nervous if it's their first time, or if they're younger, then yeah, there is that. But I do think that, and we've seen it before with Chris Wood, with Justin Rose. So we've seen it before. And so, yeah, I don't mind it.
If you have to go super cheap below 6.5K, Burgoon? Just don't think he should be priced near those top seniors. I'm just not really feeling it with Burgoon. I'm looking at that level right now. If you're listening to the one guy in the chat, you should play like 100% Gavin Green because he knows Justin Rose. I'm not playing anyone from down here. I guess Burgoon is the best play? Maybe?
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned, Bernhard Langer is 64.
Yeah,
that's like...
Longer probably is the second best play. Sung Kang,
yeah.
Sung Kang, the cheater, maybe?
Yeah. No Sung Kang, but don't go down to 6'3" if you can, because you're taking a real shot in the dark. So for me, I would just go like Longer is my lowest owned guy, or lowest priced and lowest owned guy too as well.
Any love for Tiger? Yeah, I'm playing Tiger for sure. I like Tiger this week. Yeah. Thomas Peters is a bomber. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Some guy has a blog promoting Danny Willett. How much do you hate money to love Danny Willett? I wonder if that's my blog or this show, because I like Danny Willett.
You got the monies with Willett, so I don't know if you hate
money.
I
could invest enough into Danny Willett over the course of the next 50 years, and I'll still be up on Danny Willett. Therefore,
exactly. Yeah.
Who are some smart players that can use firm fairways and get creative and have good course vision? I don't know, man. Like that would you? It could be anyone. Bryson, sure. Bryson's the smartest man in the world. Use Bryson. Haven't heard much. Hideki, is he a good pivot? Yeah, he is a good pivot.
Yep.
Best value on paper, Hideki. The best value on paper is probably Finau.
Oh yeah, in terms of DraftKings pricing, I mean, early money was maybe Jason Day, but yeah, Finau absolutely 7,200. Yeah.
Fox and Finau, or Fox and Southgate ownership percentage. Let's see, where are they at here?
Gotta be sub 5, huh?
Between 4 and 7%. Fantasy National likes both those guys, but I doubt they end up coming in that highly.
Yeah.
Top German, Langer at 2-1 or Keimer? I'd probably go Langer. Why not 2-1? I'm not playing that, but
yeah, I like Longer. He's my boy.
Feelings on Thomas Peters? Don't like him. All right, let's go to the end here. We got to wrap this up. We're already 2 hours in, so thank you, everyone. If you haven't given the episode a like yet, well, thank you very much. And this is going to be on demand on the YouTube page. It's going to be up on my podcast feed very quickly after the fact. Well, maybe, because it's going to take some while to transfer now. But it'll probably be within like 45 minutes up on the iTunes page if you want to go back and listen to it. I really appreciate everyone coming by, staying with us. We're trying to answer as many of these as possible. Sunday will be windy, according to Windfinder. Yeah, Sunday will be windy, but like we're not even sold on Thursday weather yet, so I wouldn't be putting too much stock into Sunday stuff.
Yeah.
Burger and Chapel, who do you like better? I like Burger better.
Oh yeah, Burger for me as well.
You said you're fading late to the party. You're fading injured players. That count Stenson? Yes, it does. But you're not fading Stenson.
No, I'm playing Stenson.
What's the ideal total ownership percentage for only one Millie Maker lineup? I wouldn't worry about it. Just if you're playing one, just play your favorite 6 players. Just don't even worry about it.
Yep.
Like you're taking. Listen, playing the Millionaire Maker is hard enough to begin with. And playing ownership can somewhat be a fool's errand from time to time, especially when you're playing a whole bunch of lineups. If you're just playing one, just play the 6 guys you think are going to come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and be on your way. Who cares how owned they are? Like if you're playing one lineup, you got very, very low odds of winning anyway. Can you get someone from EA Sports on the pod and convince him to create a new Tiger game now that he's back? I would love that. Love Tiger.
That'd be fantastic.
Or I'll just continue to play Tiger 06 like I have in the background here because I love Tiger. Very good at Tiger Woods PGA Tour Golf 2006. Shane Lowry,
that'd be fantastic.
Shane Lowry said the Bombers are using drivers. Thanks. Sorry if this was asked. Thoughts on Matthew Fitzpatrick, the most undercursed player in the game. Matthew Fitzpatrick, and he and Andy Sullivan are going to win the midget world title too. So, I mean, yeah, if you can hit it 220 off the tee. Thumbs up for Matthew Fitzpatrick. I just never play Matthew Fitzpatrick, so
no.
I'm off of him. Who is undercursed again? It is Matthew Fitzpatrick, most cursed. Jordan Spieth, second most cursed. Jimmy Walker, third most cursed. Those are your 3 most cursed players of the week. I have not heard anyone but cussed utter Jimmy Walker's name this week. That's probably his best chance for a win here, is Jimmy Walker.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier in your shows. I mean, Jimmy Walker, if he just keeps it in the fairway, that's great value at sub 7K, but he doesn't, so no way.
Do you hedge outrights with DK lineups and vice versa? Yes, I do, actually. Not all the time, but like the reason that I'm not playing a lot of Siwoo is because I bet Siwoo. The reason I'm playing no Griot because I got a good bet in on Griot. I think it works better for some of these chalkier sub like $7,500 guys because the prudent move, and it doesn't always work, obviously, but the chalkier that these scrubbier guys get in terms of price, they're not like legitimate scrubs, but in terms of pricing they are. I think you're always better off fading the chalk down towards the bottom, pivoting onto someone else, and then betting those guys outright as a hedge against yourself. Because frankly, these chalky low-end guys rarely come through for you.
Yeah, and then above, right, when we talk about, and this is not rocket science, you have more chances, in most cases, to pivot off of chalk at the top. There's some guys, your core plays, you don't worry about that, but at the bottom right, you want to stay away from that. Like potentially a Griot, where a lot of people are going to be flocking to. There are other guys you can use in this specific tournament at that sub 7K range. But yeah, I'd rather pivot off of guys like a Fleetwood in this case because there are so many other plays in that range potentially that you can go to. So that's the only thing I would add.
Last few questions. Alex Noren and Cash, I'm good with it.
Yep, same here.
Rose, fade or question mark? I don't know what question mark means, but I'm fading Justin Rose, yes.
Is that like Johnny Huh?
Yeah, yeah. You're Justin Rose or John who, he's not even playing the Barbasol.
No, he's like, yeah, he's taking his week off. I'm going J Rose, obviously.
Austin Cook, question mark. I'm not playing him. You said you are?
Yeah, I'm going to be fading off of Armor in that situation and going Austin Cook.
All right, Lance says 20 teams in the $100K GPP make similar core lineups or scatter across the board in lineups. I would build a similar core and go with that.
Yep, same here. Core players.
All right, last one from Fat Fuck. He says, any first-round leaders? Yes, Mr. Fuck. They are up on my Facebook page, and I've tweeted them out. You can find the link in the description to all the other videos. I'll add it after we finish up here. But it's in my betting cheat sheet, which is up on my Facebook page. I have all my first-round leader plays up there. That'll do it. Reid Fowler. At where on Twitter, Mr. Reid Fowler?
Yeah, just my name with a T in the middle there. You can find all my stuff, DK Live, DK Playbook, links to my blog as well. Guys that I do like, guys that we potentially haven't gotten to. So Reid T. Fowler on Twitter.
Someone disliked the episode. What a bad guy. We sat here chatted with you for 2 hours. I'm sorry you hated it so much. But if you could,
Mr. Fuck.
Yeah, hopefully Mr. Fuck. That wasn't you who said fuck this. But if you can give the episode a like on your way out, I would appreciate that very much. Congratulations to all the winners of the DK giveaway. I mentioned them at the beginning of the show. If you missed anything, this will be up on the YouTube page for the rest of time, probably, until DK has to distance itself from me at some point. They delete all my videos, but it will be up on my audio feed very shortly. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Radio Public, anywhere where you can Podbean, anywhere you can download podcasts, you can find the Pat Mayo Experience. If you could, you give it a 5-star review. That goes a long way into helping get exposure for the show, and most of all, keeping it free so we can sit here for 2 hours on a Wednesday and chat with you. I might be having a quick Twitter chat coming up as well, but that'll do it for me. Thank you for checking out all the content. I think we did 5 full shows, almost 8 hours of content. They're still up there. They're still relevant. Please go check those out and give them a like, share them around and everything. I really appreciate everyone tuning in this week. Everyone, please become a member of Fantasy National. There's still time. Don't forget. And good luck in the Millionaire Maker. If it can't be me, I hope someone out there wins $1 million or at least turns a good profit. If it's you, tweet me, screenshot it to me, and I'll get the word out there for you, and maybe you can come on the show if you win. I've had the last 2 winners on, might as well make it a third. I mean, it's probably going to be me, so I'll just interview myself, and that would be awesome. But after I lose all my money in the Millionaire Maker, it'll be nice to talk to someone who won some, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.